Chapter 741. What? Sensing Linley's confidence, her woman's sixth sense told her that the person in front of her was extremely dangerous. Just as she was about to withdraw her spiritual energy, she felt as if there was a special force binding her, making it impossible for her to move. Hua Yuan was shocked. She looked at Lin Rei with a shocked expression. She did not expect things to turn out this way. It was completely different from what she had imagined. Since you're here, do you think you can leave? Looking at the mental energy needle in front of him, he suddenly activated the devouring heaven art. With a terrifying devouring power, he raised his hand and sucked in the mental energy needle in front of him. No, don't. At this moment, she clearly felt that the energy was the most terrifying devouring power in the world. At this moment, she was afraid. She was really afraid. Unfortunately, it was all too late. Lin Rei did not care about Hua Yuan's pleas for mercy. His face was cold, and his lips curled into a bloodthirsty smile. Suddenly, the devouring heaven art was fully activated, and a tyrannical devouring power was released. The next moment, the mental energy that Hua Yuan used to attack him was completely devoured by Lin Rei's devouring power. It was converted into pure mental energy, replenishing Lin Rei. Sensing that his spiritual energy had suddenly increased, a hint of a smile appeared on Linley's face. He really hoped that he could do this a few more times. That way, his mental energy would increase again, and he would not have to worry about breaking through to the saint level. But at the same time, he knew that it was impossible. After the first time, who would dare to be tricked a second time? Sure enough, just as Lin Rei thought of this, Hua Yuan said, "No more, no more. If I go down again, all my mental energy will be devoured by you." After saying that, Hua Yuan spread out her hands and stepped aside helplessly. She did not speak anymore. Seeing this, Lin Rei could not help but sigh, "Ai. Forget it, I still wanted to devour more. Since you don't want to give it to me, then forget it." Even though Lin Rei spoke softly, how could Hua Yuan, a grand perfection god emperor, not hear him? Hearing Lin Rei's words, Hua Yuan wanted to give him a good beating. At this moment, Linley no longer paid any attention to Hua Yuan. Instead, he went to Lu Yu's side and asked, "Come, give me the prize for the champion." "All right, please wait a moment." Upon seeing that Lin Rei had won, Lu Yu casually took out a ring and handed it to Lin Rei. "Senior, this is yours," he said fawningly. Without looking at him, she took the ring and nodded. Then, she walked over to Hua Yuan's side. Even though she had received the prize of the alchemy conference, she had yet to receive her prize. At that moment, when Chu Xi saw Lin Rei's actions, she took a step forward and stood behind him. She stood there respectfully and did not say a word. At that moment, seeing that the alchemy conference had come to a dramatic end, looks like it won't be easy and said regretfully, "This alchemy conference has come to a successful end." Was extremely depressed. After 100 years, he didn't think that he would say something like that held again. He nodded and
However,
agreed.
I hope that everyone will participate in
Then young
enthusiasm.
the moment the two of them saw Lin. After saying that,
They stopped
Lu
talking
Yu did
about
not
it
stay
and
any longer
refined it.
greeted him.
He
After
directed
saying
left
that,
and
Lin
walked
Rei
towards
did
the
not pay
Yasumi
attention to
Alchemy
him.
Guild.
Instead,
Everyone present
his
did
gaze
not
fell on
move.
Yunkai.
There's
Except
no need
Lu
for
Yu.
such
Looking at
formalities
her,
in the future.
As for
Ray
them,
asked,
they wanted
how
to
he
curry
spoke.
favor with
Lin
Lin Rei.
Rei
Waved
waved
his
his
hand
hand
and the two of them
Chu
shook hands. Then,
Is the
after
reflection
she
of the
opened the door,
formation
the
alchemy
alchemy
realms
were still there.
Hearing this,
Yes,
Yunkai's
face
face darkened.
Chu Xi did
The
not
two
count
of them,
then,
who
she
had
said
never
in a low
delivered
voice,
Lin
because
Rei's
young
master
Lin Rei's
had already
followers
sung.
could concoct pills with
In the
5
last
patterns.
20
Their
years,
responses
they would
not
not
only
only consolidated
consolidated my
my
cultivation.
Regarding
At that
as for the
Lin
rest,
Rei was already used to it. Lin Rei was
I
full
did
of
not have
after
time
all,
to do it.
no matter if it was in the
Seeing
past,
that the people around him had
present,
no
after
intention
hearing
of
him, everyone would
Lin Rei
he
waved
released
his
his
hand
divine
and
and
honorable
began to
realm
check
of
the
situation
situation
of
of
the
the
spiritual
spiritual
had
energy
already
Lin
changed
Rei's
body.
body. However,
After a few minutes,
Lin Rei did
returned
not
to
want
their
to original
original
starting
eyes.
point. Because the
His
arrays
eyes
were
were
casually
casually
set up
gratification.
caused an uproar and
However,
discussion
you did
among the
well.
people present. An extra
Although
person
you have
also
only
arrived.
consolidated
What an
your
all-round
cultivation
in
the
the past
past
20
20
years.
Lin
Concocting
Rei's
pills
pills
and the density of your spiritual
and
energy
now
so
imagine
high
that
that
even
even
three
Rei's
great
message
emperors
would not
would
know
no match
how
for
can we
you.
live. She turned
Of
around
course,
and said
don't
to
be
Hua
arrogant
Yuan,
because
"That's
fellow
right.
Hua.
This is a
You still
conversation
have a long
between our
way to go.
sections. This kind
So,
of person
don't
is the
seem to
evilest
work
of
hard.
evilest. the most abnormal
After
of
saying
all.
that,
Could you please
Lin
leave
Ray
first?
clenched his
Sigh.
fist and raised it slightly.
Who said
As soon as she
otherwise?
heard this,
His face
the
was
original
cold.
it means to be the darling of
before
heaven
that
turned cold.
Let me test your true strength.
That
She
is,
couldn't bear to say
after
anything.
saying
At that
that,
moment,
immediately
Lin
moved
moved
swiftly
who
and
was standing in the
after
magic
closing
array.
the door,
He
heard
didn't
the
waste
discussions
any
of
more
the
words.
The room was
and
finally
immediately used
empty.
the astral
Suddenly,
finger.
Chu
At
Ci
this
could
moment,
not help but
instantly
raise
the two
his
of
sword
them
with a
fingers
raised
started
expression
with
on
a
his
golden
face.
color.
This time,
It was
like
a
a
sharp
sharp
people
sword
were talking
talking
about
carried
it
a
heading to the
terrifying
ancient
pressure
court
at
that
that
shot
moment
towards
Zhuge
Yun.
Hochao had
What about
seen the
his
whole
speed was
process.
so fast
Do you
that
want
it
to follow
completely
me
surpassed
for a moment?
Yun's
He
vision,
was deeply
and the five
convinced
forces
that
of
Lin
Ray
Ray
was
was
not
not
bluffing when he said that he could
There
control
would be no
supreme
course
divine
at this moment.
artifacts before Yun Kai could
If
even
you want to
know
go,
how to
in the
connect
next
the supreme
instant,
divine
Yun Kai,
artifact.
if you don't want to go,
or a
then
gathering
stay
in
here.
this moment, Zhuge
It's your
Hochao could not
choice.
help
A figure
but feel
walked out
excited.
from
Young
behind her.
master,
We
when
will
he
go.
thought that he
This
would
person
soon
was
have
the
a
supreme
as long as
divine
you are
artifact.
there.
At this
We will
moment,
he did not know
Lin
what to
Ray's
do.
finger was
Have you thought
already
it
at
through?
Yun
At that
Kai's
moment,
throat.
in the
Seeing
magic
them
array,
agree
if it was
without
happening
thinking
at
at
all,
all,
Lin
Lin
used a
instantly
little
felt a
force.
burst of
Yun
delight.
Kai
He
would have
said,
died.
Tell
Yes,
me, why are you in the
have.
lower realm?
Chu
Young
Ci
master
nodded her
come
head.
here?
Good.
What are your
Since
intentions
that's
in
the
coming to
case,
this alchemy
then it's in the
decided.
face of death.
No
Why
matter
did
what,
you
even
will
head
head
to the ancient court
pants
together.
At that moment,
Just now,
however,
hearing
in
Lin
order
Ray's
to let
question,
Yun Kai
I would like to
experience
verify
your
your
cultivation
Lin Ray
had
had already
already
released
released
his
his
murderous
Don't have you
aura
completed
anymore.
the task I
Now
gave
you
you? I
know
will
why
not
I
tell
want
you
you to
or
cultivate.
rather, how is your progress?
In
Since she had
fact,
lost,
cultivation
she had
is
any
a
personal
personal
matter.
After
The
all,
reason I want
this
you
was
to
what she had
cultivate
always
is so that
hearing
you
it
can have the
since she
strength
was
to
young,
protect
thought to
yourselves in the
herself.
divine
Seeing
world.
how straightforward
However,
she was,
her face
Lin
was
Ray
full
was
of
naturally
smiles
happy.
and confidence.
Your talent is not
At
to be
least you do not have
underestimated.
to ask her one by
Yes,
one. In the
you
future,
can.
purify
My name
the
is
spiritual
Hua
energy
Yu
in your
Chu's
body.
confidence.
I come from the
Lin
barren
Ray
planet
smiled
of the
and
holy
said,
world.
Your
Spiritual
that's the
energy
case,
will
the
be more
barren
powerful
planet
in the
is
Sect
for me,
that
that
is
is your
top-notch
limit.
clan.
Just like me now.
But remember,
this plan is
it
our
must be
Hua
better
clan.
than the
Lin
pill
Ray
refined
withdrew
in
his
the
stellar
stellar
finger
fungus,
and went to
right?
the side without
Until
saying
tomorrow
anything.
morning.
That's right.
At this
If you
moment,
refine
Lin
it
Yun
well,
Kai
I
also
also
chose
chose
to
to
remain
remain
silent.
If you don't,
Indeed,
however,
Lin Ray
I will make
basically
you
regret
regret
after
after
listening
listening
to
to
Lin
Lin
Ray's
Ray's
words.
Looking
Yun
at his
Kai
reaction
directly sat on the
while
ground
Chu
looking
Ci
into
was
the
comprehending
speechless
the concept that she had just
If
explained.
that's the case,
he did not
then
give
I
up
will
until
tell
he
you
the
some
child
things
is
that you
worth
don't know.
teaching.
At that moment, he could clearly
Seeing
feel the
one of them
change in
refining
Hua
pills
Yun's and the
aura.
other cultivating.
She
She had
was no
nothing
longer
to do,
as lively
so he
and
entered
cute
the
as
system.
before.
After
Instead,
arriving at the scripture
she became more
pavilion,
mature.
he began to search for more
It was as
powerful
if Hua
battle
Yun was
techniques.
18 years old before,
Time
and she was
slowly
now
passed.
30 or 40 years old.
With Lin Ray's investigation
Although my
and
clan
the
is
others
the number one
cultivating,
clan in
the
the
night
barren
passed
plain,
in the blink
in
of
the
an
holy
eye.
world. There are some
The next
existences
morning,
in the
Chu
10
Ci,
great continents,
who was refining pills,
the Huang
had
plane
already
is the
lost her
lowest
red
out of the 10
complexion and was
planes,
replaced
while
by
our
a pale
desolate
white
plane
color.
is ranked 6th.
However, the
A
matters
white
of the
light
clan are
instantly
not
shot out
limited
of the
to
pill
lower
furnace.
worlds. At
Even the
this
saint's
moment,
world is
Chu
not immune
Ci,
to it,
who was
Jian
originally
Shen said
tense,
with a sigh,
completely relaxed.
Hearing this, Lin
However,
Ray laughed.
because of the excessive
Don't
spiritual
tell me it's a
energy
marriage
and mental
alliance.
energy in the pill furnace,
Sigh.
Chu Ci directly fell
She
backward
did not
the
want to
moment she
admit Lin
relaxed
Ray's
her
words,
nerves. But it was the truth.
I finally succeeded
Marriage
in
alliance
refining.
was an unavoidable existence
At this
for every
moment,
clan,
although Chu
including
Ci's
the
face
holy
was
world,
pale,
which was
it
a
was full
sacred
of
place in
smiles.
everyone's eyes.
It's
You
true.
refined it?
Seeing
The
Hua
moment
Yun
Chu
sigh,
Ci collapsed,
it meant that he
Lin
had guessed
Ray,
correctly.
who had been searching for battle
Immediately,
techniques in the scripture
Lin Ray
pavilion,
laughed even
knew
harder.
that the next day had arrived.
He did not expect that the
Then,
holy
he
world would
walked
have
out
such
of the
emotional
system.
disputes.
Unexpectedly,
Yes,
the moment
that's
he
right.
did, he sensed that
Looking
Chu
at
Ci
Lin Ray,
had succeeded
Hua
in
Yun
refining the
continued.
pill. Although my clan is
Yes,
powerful and
young
our
master,
bloodline is the direct line of
the
descent,
pill that I
my
refined
father
can be
only has
considered
me
to
as a
be a
daughter
low-grade
and no
grandmaster
son.
pill.
The
In
Vajra
order
pill.
to strengthen the position of the
Oh.
direct line of descent in the
Vajra
clan,
pill.
my father
Hearing
betrothed
the
me
name
to the
of the
number
pill
one
that
clan
Chu
in the
Ci
8th
had
continent,
refined,
the
Lin
young
Ray
master
was
of the
stunned.
Guyu clan.
He
He
knew
knew that the Vajra pill could be said to be very difficult
Isn't
to
that
refine.
good?
Even a
eighth
mid-grade
continent?
grandmaster alchemist
It's only
might not be
second
able
to
to
the
refine
ninth or
it in a
10th
day.
heavenly layer. Thinking about should be very powerful. Who was a little skeptical. At this moment, pointed his right hand at the words were exactly the words of those who had been persuading her. A suction force appeared. If this was not the divine world, she would probably think that Lin Ray rushed out of the father furnace and landed perfectly in Lin Ray's hand. Although the Guyu clan is powerful, when he looked at the pill in his hand and saw that it was really the Vajra pill, he knew that women by his side are more than 10 times more than the people here. Tell me, can I marry such a person? Such a playboy, how can I give up my life's happiness? Lin Ray's eyes were filled with flowed down her face. After all, looking at her, he was the only venerable grade alchemist in the sect. Sigh. Everyone else was still growing and couldn't be of much use. For their own benefits, they don't care about sacrificing anyone. An ancestor grade alchemist. Only power is eternal. Although he was still a primary grade alchemist, his name alone was enough to match 10 emperor grade Ray's words. So, not I prepared to leave the Hua clan and smiled appreciatively and walked over to Chu's seaside. Although the outside world is full of danger, at least I don't have to marry someone I don't like. Lin Ray sighed inwardly. Finally, with the help of a servant, I is still a little too eager. But who would have thought that the servant had already become some pills that can increase his spiritual power. The reason why he helped me was because he wanted to give me a pill from his ring and stuffed it into Chu Si's mouth. That's quite tragic. He then circulated his spiritual energy and placed his palm on Chu but admire her luck, slowly helping him refine the tyrannical medicinal energy of the barren state. I met Gu even though he was a middle-stage god when he wanted to do something and was indeed a giant. I used a secret technique to escape. He was nothing in front of the pills just concocted like that, by Lin. A chase began. Whether it was in terms of the life of a cultivation, and this fugitive lasted for 1,000 years. At this moment, during that 1,000 years, who had been cultivating to the side, had already woken up. There wasn't a good day, and I didn't have a good meal. She was guarding Chu Si, not leaving his side for even an inch. He finally caught up. Looking at Yun Kai, just when I was in despair, nodded. I accidentally stepped into a mysterious formation. He'll be fine after eating the pill. When I woke up, withdrew his hand from Chu Si's chest and stood up. After I woke up and asked, he didn't want to disturb the two and directly walked out. Just like that. However, when Lin Ray reached the door, he seemed to have thought of something. At this moment, Lin Ray could be said to have heard a person's life story. When you're done resting, such a strange story actually happened to her. Xie Feng and I will wait for you. Can we leave now? With a bang, the door closed and Lin Ray's figure recovered from her memories and said to Lin Ray. At this moment, Yun Kai, who was in the room, carried Chu Si and placed him on the bed. She then waited for him to wake up. Seeing that she was about to leave, Lin Ray knew what it felt like to overexert one's spiritual power. What else do you want to ask? After coming out of the room, at this Lin Ray walked on the path to was a little impatient. The two sides of the path were no longer as damaged by him as before. How's the situation in the heavenly court in the holy world? The two sides of the path were filled with colorful jokes. You know about the heavenly court? It was very beautiful and moving. Hua Yuyin, who was originally impatient, the fragrance of flowers was immediately energized the moment she heard this. When one smelled it, it gave one a feeling of lingering. Not only do I know about the heavenly court, but I also have a grudge against the master of the heavenly court. The scene at this moment could be described as a paradise on earth. When she thought about how her eyes were blinded by this paradise on earth, a boundless killing intent uncontrollably emerged. It was not because of anything else, this person, because when he came out of the boundless killing intent, the little tail behind him followed him again. This kind of tail was referring to even none other than the clan leaders of the various large clans. Not for anything else, but now she felt it from an emperor god Yuan pellet. What's going on between you and helpless about this? You're from the divine world. He had also tried to persuade her to leave. Logically speaking, although he had met her shouldn't have any contact. There was no interaction between them. Of course, at least not now. Hearing Hua Yuin's question, Lin Ray didn't hide anything and immediately told her the story of how he saved. That's not right either. After a few minutes, lover. After listening to Lin Ray's story, even more wrong. Hua Yuin was stunned on the spot. Lin Ray did not love her. Her expression was filled with disbelief. The only thing that could make Lin Ray think of the master of the Phoenix clan. Moreover, it was a very annoying stranger. Sensing Hua Yuin behind him, Lin Ray turned around and rolled his eyes. They were both in the holy world. His face was full of helplessness. Was a ruling existence in the early days of the Elder Can you not follow me? All right, look at you. Tell me, what's how Tion's cultivation level now? Why are you following a married man like me? At this moment, hearing the question, moreover, Yuin didn't hide anything and told him everything she knew. I've already given all the 9 heavenly court mixed colossal existence in the holy world. I really don't have any more now. Although it's not the strongest, it's not easy to provoke. You can go and find Xie Feng. As for the heavenly emperor Hao Tian, it depends on whether what cultivation level he's at. Moreover, however, we're leaving here today he hasn't going to the ancient integration stage. There are many strong cultivators heavenly court. And there are also quite a number of hierarch realm cultivators. We might be able to completely uproot the heavenly court from the holy world. At this moment, when talking about the Hua clan, Hua Yuin couldn't help but show an arrogant expression. Was stunned. Ancient corpse vault? You didn't say anything. I'm very interested. At this moment, I heard that it's a place Lin no longer prayed that Hua Yuin could tell him the cultivation level of the various special divine medicine or even sacred medicine. Seeing that she was useless, he waved his hand and broke the array around them. Lin Ray was instantly defeated. Chu Si, let's go. He finally understood the true meaning of the idiom pestering. Chu Si, who had been waiting, on the other hand, immediately was a person she heard who was made for pestering others. She followed behind Lin Ray and was about no longer asked her to leave. However, just as she wanted to go to the ancient, he thought of the 9 revolutions, then let her mixed energy pill that he had refined. Once they were inside, he turned his head and said to Hua Yuin, she didn't affect him. Although I didn't get the answer I wanted from you, he could even kill and bury the corpse. Swoosh. All right. After saying since you're willing to follow Lin Ray waved then his hand and a ray of light instantly shot out and landed in front of Hua Yuin. Lin Ray no longer cared about Hua Yuin. A 9 revolutions mixed energy pill with he turned around and quickly landed in the air and floated there. At this moment, in Xie Feng's room, how Xie Feng was sitting on the bed. Looking at the pill,
the
and
corners
looking
of
at
her
the
mouth
door,
curled
and
up
Lin
slightly,
who had left,
revealing a
while
charming
Yuen
smile.
smiled and reached out her hand to
I'm
grab
finally
the pill.
out.
In a
After
flash,
saying that,
she left the
Xia
alchemy
Feng hurriedly
guild.
stood up and tidied up
At
her
this
messy
moment,
clothes.
before the crowd could
Then,
react, she
Lin
opened
Rei,
the door and
Hua
walked
Yuan,
out, and Chu Xi
After
had
that,
disappeared in
she
front of
walked
their
towards
eyes.
Lin Rei's location.
As for Zhuge Ho,
Waiter,
when Lin Li was
bring
about
all
to
the
leave,
specialties here.
he came back to his senses
Also,
and followed closely
bring a few
behind.
jugs of wine.
A farce for
At
Lin
this
Rei
moment,
ended happily
Lin Rei,
just like that.
who had just entered the restaurant,
Seeing that
looked
the
at
three
the waiter
most
and
important
ordered.
people had left,
It was useless for the crowd to
Please
stay.
wait a moment.
After
In the
hearing
end,
Lin Rei's
they all
name,
left
the
separately.
waiter became excited and
As the
hurriedly
saying
walked to the
goes,
back. Everyone should go back to
At
their
this
own
moment,
homes and
Lin
find
Rei,
their own mothers.
who had
finished ordering, came to an empty table by the window
Chapter
and sat down.
742.
He ignored
Zhuge
Hua
Ho
Yuan
returned
and
to the
sat
restaurant
down with Lin Rei and
Then,
saw Zhuge
he
Mingwe
turned his head
forging a
towards the
supreme
window
quality
and
god
instantly
artifact
released
for
his
him.
sense of hearing.
At this moment,
He began
Lin
to
Rei
inquire
looked
about
at
the
Chu
interesting
Xi on the
things
way
that
back
happened
and
during
smiled.
this period of
How was
time
it? When he was in closed-door
What do you think
cultivation?
of today's competition?
Dao friend, have you
Yeah,
heard? It was all right. The 7 sects have
The
all
others
moved
were
out.
all right,
But I never
The
thought
leaders
that
are
woman
all
would be on
late
the
god
same level
emperors.
as you, young master. Moreover, she's so
Furthermore,
young.
there are
Chu
rumors
Xi
that for the
said with
opening
some
of the ancient
disappointment.
corpse vault,
Some
Yeah,
old
Lin
undying
Rei
people have all
smiled when
come
he
out of
sensed the
closed-door
disappointment in Chu
cultivation.
Xi's voice.
Their purpose is
He
to obtain the
explained,
corpse core
actually,
from the
you
corpse
don't have
king
to
of the
worry too
ancient
much
corpse
about it.
vault. I should have known. Is there such a
That
thing?
woman is no ordinary person.
At this moment, this conversation
comes from a
entered
large
Lin
clan
Rei's
in the
ears.
Saints' world.
Immediately,
What?
Lin Rei's interest
The
was
Saints'
piqued.
world.
He listened
Chu
to their
Xi
discussion
was
with
shocked.
great interest. His eyes
AI,
widened in
speaking
shock.
of which,
I don't know
he
where the
never
rumor
thought
came
that the
from.
woman would actually be from
It
the
says
Saints'
that
world.
the corpse core can increase
At that
one's
moment,
lifespan.
he immediately
improve one's
calmed down.
cultivation, and various
After
other
all,
benefits. She was from the Saints'
Look,
world. Those old undying
just her
people can no
insight was
longer improve
extraordinary,
after
let
cultivating
alone
to
the
the
fact
fact
that
that she was
sovereign
from a
realm.
large clan. You have to know that it has been
Useless.
hundreds of thousands
Sensing
of
that the
years
hint
and
of
the divine
defiance in
world
Chu
to reach
Xi's
the saint
eyes
realm
had disappeared.
Lin
And
Li
those
immediately
old
began to
undying
berate
people's
her.
lifespan is about to reach
Young
its
master.
end.
So what if she's
Some of
from
them
the
are
Saints'
already
world?
dead,
But they insist
being
on
born
using
in the
divine
Saints'
medicine
world
to
any
prolong
different
their
from you?
lives. It's just that
How
her
can they give
background
up
is
on
such
such
a good thing when they hear
If
that
you
it
were
can
born in the
increase their
Saints'
lifespan.
world,
You'd probably be the
Damn,
same. This,
hee.
So don't lower
Interesting.
your own prestige.
At this moment,
How
Lin
am I
Rei,
supposed to take
who
you
was
to
in
the
the
Saints'
restaurant,
world if that's
laughed.
the case? His face
Isn't that
was
just
full of
showing
interest.
my eye for people?
Why didn't I
With
know
that,
that the corpse
Lin Rei
core
shook
can
his
increase
head and
one's
said
lifespan?
nothing more.
At this
Afterwards,
moment,
he
Lin
sped
Rei
up
was
and
both
made his way
interested
back
and
to where he
puzzled.
lived.
He couldn't
However,
understand how the
after being
corpse core
scolded
could
by
be
Lin
related
Rei,
to lifespan.
he immediately came to his
Nonsense.
senses.
He
Isn't
felt
this
enlightened.
nonsense?
That's right. Just as Lin
So
Rei
what if
was
she's from the
curious and
Saints'
puzzled,
world?
the system's angry
As
voice
long as I work
exploded
hard,
directly
the
in
people
Lin
of
Rei's
the
Saints'
ears.
world will still be trampled
Oh.
under my feet.
With
What is
that,
the function
his
of the corpse
confidence
core?
returned.
He knew
sped
that the
up and
system
caught
must
up to
know
Lin
something
Rei.
about it.
At
The
this
corpse
moment,
core
not
can be a
far
kind
from
of
Lin
pill
Rei's
called the
voice,
heavenly corpse
Zhuge Ho
core.
finally saw the figures
This
of
kind
Lin
of pill
Rei
can
and Lin
control
Feng.
all the people who have swallowed
Then,
it. His face lit
of
up
course,
with joy.
this
And
kind
he
of pill,
hurriedly sped
with
up.
your current Dan realm,
In the blink
hee.
of an eye, he
Hearing
arrived
the
beside
system's
Lin
words,
Rei. Lin Rei was speechless.
With an awkward expression,
He
however,
cupped his
out
hands
of
and
curiosity,
interrupted.
he
Fellow
directly
cultivator
deleted
Lin
the
Rei.
unpleasant words
I'm really
and began
sorry
to ask
disturb
what he
you.
was interested in.
Besides refining
Hearing
the heavenly
someone call
corpse
him,
core,
Lin
is
Rei
there
was
any other
stunned.
use? He immediately
example,
released his divine
increasing
sense.
one's cultivation,
When
or
he saw Zhuge Ho beside
don't guess
him,
blindly.
he suddenly remembered that he
Before
had promised
Lin
to help
Rei
him
finished
refine a
speaking,
supreme-grade
the
divine
system
artifact.
directly cut him off.
More importantly,
The corpse core
Zhuge
has only
Mingwe was
one
still in the
use,
restaurant,
and
that is to refine the heavenly corpse
Previously,
core. He had captured her purely
It has
out
no
of
other
interest.
use.
Of course,
no,
more importantly,
it has another
he
use.
hoped to befriend her.
Oh,
Once he came
What
out of
is
the
it?
ancient corpse trove,
Lin Rei
he would
asked
immediately begin
excitedly.
the matter of the talisman
It is the
grandmaster.
corpse core.
Looking at
In
Zhuge
addition
Ho,
to refining
Lin Li
the heavenly
slapped his
corpse
forehead.
core,
A
it
look
can
of
also be
embarrassment
used
on
as
his
a
face,
poison.
and its medicinal
He
effect
hurriedly
is very
apologized.
strong. I'm sorry,
Even
I'm
you
really
can't cure
sorry.
it.
At this moment,
I was so
Lin
focused
Rei
on
did not
hurrying
pay
back
attention
that I
to the
forgot
system's
about
fellow
words.
Taoist Zhuge. At the same time,
Fellow
after
Taoist
listening
Lin,
to the
you
system's
must be
words,
joking.
He knew that the conversation
Seeing
between
Lin
the
Rei's
two people
reaction,
just now was
Zhuge
pure
Ho Ho hurriedly stopped him and said, "There was no such thing at all, fellow Taoist Lin. However, if there was no such thing, all right, then where did these rumors come from? Was all this too coincidental? It's not that easy to refine supreme-grade spiritual energy." Made Lin Ray feel that someone had arranged this in advance. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. Interesting, then, really interesting. They sped up and headed back to their residence. Lin Ray muttered. On the way, when he was bored to death, what's interesting? Lin Ray asked Zhuge Ho about the type of weapon he needed. Xia Feng's voice suddenly came. Fellow Taoist Zhuge, after hearing what kind of weapon do you like and what do you need? He quickly came back to his senses. Since you have nothing to do, why don't you tell me about it? Xia Feng had already sat down beside him. Zhuge Ho's eyes lit up. Looking at her, Lin Ray told her what he had just learned about the type of weapon he wanted. A few minutes later, Xia Feng
I like a
frowned,
sword,
and her face was wide and 1.5 feet long. Who is doing this? It would be best if it's a soft sword. Even I don't know what the corpse core is used for. Hearing Zhuge He's someone request, spread such a rumor? Lin Rei was slightly surprised. I don't know, but don't you think he had never found getting more and more interesting? He said with interest from what he knew, soft swords were usually used by women because it was easy to hide. Then smiled. Moreover, it was very useful for such a coincidence can attract so many people's attention. That Zhuge He wanted to use such a weapon. It seems that after this Lin Rei was there will be a big reshuffle of the situation. He did not understand why a man would use such a weapon. Lin Rei, he had underestimated Xia Feng's meaning, nodded in agreement. To be honest, the soft sword I mentioned is actually for my daughter to use. She has liked soft swords since she was young, and she likes the art of assassination. So, looking at the two of them talking to each other, she was speechless. Oh. However, due to Xia Feng's strength, finally understood that he had been mistaken. This was what was going on. She sat aside quietly and waited for the dishes to arrive. After saying that, Lin Rei did not say anything else. There are too many people in the shop today, since he had confirmed that it was a supreme-grade divine weapon. This is the mysterious rain wine that our shopkeeper has specially prepared for you as an apology. To their residence. Please try it first. Just as Lin Rei returned to his residence, the dishes will be sent to you and walked out of her room. What do you think? You're back. Just when the situation was extremely awkward, the waiter's voice was heard. At the same time, Lin Rei nodded and smell drifted over. Well, release the woman I caught the other day. At this moment, Lin Rei only heard the waiter say that the wine was to be sent. After saying that, he didn't hear the rest. Lin Rei went back because at this moment, Lin Rei's eyes were locked on the mysterious Lin's wine in the waiter's hands. Felt very unhappy, but in its heart, it still did as it was told. She turned around and went back to her room. When she came out, there was a woman beside her. His eyes were full of passion, his throat was moving, and his face was full of desire. At this moment, looking at this Zhuge He noticed the woman covered her face and turned her body to the side as if she didn't know who else could it be but his daughter. Not only Xia Feng, father, but even Hua Yuyin had the same reaction as Xia Feng, who had just stepped out of the room, both complaining in her heart when she heard a familiar voice. She immediately looked up and saw her father, Zhuge He. After all, she knew that Lin Rei ran to his side excitedly and hung herself on him. As long as he found the wine in his shop to be especially delicious, he would disregard his own safety and thought of Lin Rei and said cutely, "At this moment, I was bullied." Xia Feng silently mourned for the shop owner and kidnapped me and tied me up for a long time. I hope this guy won't plunder all the wine in this shop like he did in the past. Just as Zhuge He was about to say something, although she acted as if she didn't know daughter seemed to have been released by Lin Rei. Her nose was attracted by the mysterious rain wine. For a moment, the aura that he had just built up was like a deflated wine very much. At this moment, falling limp, especially after smelling the wine's aroma. Sensing that something was wrong with her father, she wanted to taste it even more. Zhuge Mingyue jumped down. Okay. Please wait a moment. When she saw her father's helpless expression, I'll give you breast milk now. She knew that there was something fishy going on. At this moment, after hearing Lin Rei's words, what's going on? The waiter placed the wine on the table and turned around to leave. Looking at his daughter, Zhuge He said, "There's wine to drink, Mingyue. It's not that I don't want to revenge you." Lin Rei fixed his eyes on the wine again. That person. Then, not to mention your father, grabbed the wine. Even your grandfather wouldn't be able to touch the person who kidnapped you. Gulp. Gulp. This was the so-called gulp. Zhuge Mingyue was shocked. Hearing the sound of Lin Rei drinking, she knew that her grandfather was an expert and watched as Lin Rei finished the wine bit by bit. However, her father said that he was no match for Lin Rei. That, how could she not be shocked? Leave some for me. We can't afford to offend this person. When Hua Yuyin heard Xia Feng's words, moreover, she rolled her eyes to forge a supreme-grade sacred weapon. Here. Tell me, hearing Xia Feng's words, such a person? Lin Rei directly handed the wine bottle to Xia Feng. He used his identity as an honorable grade alchemist to compete with another honorable grade alchemist in the alchemy conference. He could still afford to give her something like this. Moreover, according to my observation, looking at the bottle of wine, Xia Feng didn't refuse. If I'm not wrong, she took the wine and started drinking. Probably similar to the level of his weapon. The way she drank was similar to how Lin Rei drank before. Hiss. At this bottle of wine, when she heard that Lin Rei had so many shocking skills, she couldn't help but the dishes were served. If he's really looking at the dazzling array not to mention the sword, Lin Rei said, even you guys won't be his match. After we finish eating, her desire to head to the ancient completely disappeared because it was impossible. After saying that, he no longer paid any attention to the crowd in this lifetime. Instead, he lowered his head and picked up a dish to eat. Lin Li took out his trump card. At this moment, his appearance shocked Xia Feng. He took out some top-grade equipment. It was not because of anything from his storage but because Lin Rei's took out a piece of violet gold soft iron. In the process Lin Li had been reluctant to use Lin Rei had already finished one plate. He did not expect that because of a promise. He would use
Then,
it now.
He grabbed another plate and began to eat.
Zhuge He wanted to use
Just
the
like
software,
that,
and the
plate
purple
after
gold
plate of
soft
food
iron
was
was
served.
suitable to forge a soft sword.
When the evil phoenix saw that the dishes were about to run out,
Lin Rei
he rolled
could
up
only
his sleeves
reluctantly
and
give it
began
up
to
and
eat.
forge it. Regarding the
Boom,
actions
the
of
illusory
Lin Rei
spirit
and Xie
fire
Feng,
appeared
while
instantly.
Yuying was very surprised.
After all,
after forging the divine artifact, he had to go
she
into
couldn't
seclusion
imagine
to
that
treat
such a
his
strong
eyes.
person would have such a strange
That was the
scene.
most important thing.
And just as they were eating,
Whoosh. Chu Xiai and Xie
Lin
Feng,
Rei controlled
who
the
had
purple
fainted
gold
because of
soft
the alchemy,
iron and instantly
came to the
threw it
table
into the
and then
illusory
joined in the
spirit
blood
vortex.
fire to smelt it.
This scene,
Puff,
the actions of
the
the
moment
four
the
people,
purple gold
not only
soft
caused
iron
Hua
entered the
Yuying to be
illusory
shocked,
spirit blood
but also
fire,
attracted
it
the
showed
attention of the
signs of
surrounding
melting.
people.
This was
Everyone's
the difference
expression
between the
was the
purple
same
gold
as
soft
Hua
iron
Yuying's.
and the purple gold meteoric
During the
iron.
meal,
Lin Rei's mind went into the system
the
and found
purple
the
gold
place
soft
where the
iron
pie
was
show
particularly good at
which he had
melting,
never visited
while the purple
before.
gold soft iron was
Ever
very
since
easy
he
to
took a
melt.
drop of the pie show's blood
However,
essence,
the two
he had never
iron ores
visited
were
it
indeed
again.
of the same level.
At this moment,
However,
he came to the
if it were
system
an ordinary
space where the
person,
pie show
they would
was.
choose the purple gold meteoric
Looking
iron
at it,
instead of the
he
purple
saw a
gold
monster's
soft
body
iron
that was
because
hundreds
the
of
soft
feet tall
iron
and
was
was
not
not
very
very
useful.
useful.
However,
The
it
purple
can't
gold
be.
meteoric iron was
I
different
just didn't
because it
come
could
in for a
enhance the
while, and
offensive
it grew to
power of
such
the
a
divine
level.
artifact. Looking at the huge
After watching
body,
the purple
Lin
gold
Rei was
soft
shocked.
iron melt little by little,
Lin Rei
wasn't
took out a
just
mass
shocked
of
by the
purple
pie
molten
show's
iron
body,
and put it in
he
a
was
special
even more
container.
shocked by the pie show's
Oh,
cultivation.
the master has melted.
At this moment,
Let's
the
go
pie
crazy.
show's cultivation had already
The purple
recovered
gold
to the middle
soft
stage
iron
was the backbone of the
realm.
software. Its entire
Now that
body
the
was emitting a
backbone had been
terrifying
refined,
aura,
the
and
rest
pressure
would be easy.
Even Lin Li, who
Whoosh.
had just seen it, was stunned.
Whoosh.
A whoosh. Suddenly,
At this
the
moment,
originally sleeping
more than
pie
20
show,
iron ores on the
after
ground
sensing
were all
Lin Li's
thrown
aura,
into the illusory
slowly
spirit
woke up,
blood
and
fire
a
by
beast
Lin
roar
Rei
that
and
shook
began
the
to
heavens
melt.
spread throughout the entire
At this
space.
moment, Lin Rei used
Lin
all
Rei,
his
who had been
strength.
listening to the beast's
The
roar
temperature
whole
of the
time,
illusory
suddenly
spirit
rolled his
blood
eyes.
fire was getting hotter and hotter.
It was enough to
so much
express
so that the
everything
whole
he
house
wanted to
was
say.
about to collapse.
You little brat,
Do
you know
my
that
cultivation
it's
is
very
still
inhumane for
too
you to
low.
put me here?
As for the
Suddenly,
strange state of
the
the
pie
house,
show
Lin Li
opened
blamed
its
it
mouth.
all on his low level of
However,
cultivation.
the words it said were very
If anyone
tiring
else
with its
heard
current
this,
identity,
they would
and the pressure
definitely
it
be
exerted
so
before.
angry that they would chase him down
It was
with a
like
machete and
like
hack
the
him down
soul
the
of a
streets.
loafer and the body of a superior.
In just a short period of 2 to
This
3
difference
thousand
made
years,
Lin Rei
an
stunned.
ordinary person like you had cultivated to the Emperor God
What's
realm.
wrong?
Even the
Can't
heavens'
speak.
pride in the holy world would not
Seeing
be able
Lin
to
Rei's
compare with
silence,
this cultivation
the pie
speed.
show continued to pursue.
Even so, Lin Rei still
this.
felt that his cultivation was
At
too
this
low.
moment,
Lin Rei was really in the wrong.
This was really not leaving him
When
any
he
way
saved
out.
Pai Shou before,
Time
he said
passed
that
by
he would only
slowly.
let Pai Shou follow
In
him
the blink
for a
of
few
an
hundred
eye,
years.
a day had passed.
But now, Pai
the
Shou
iron
had
ores
been
in the
locked up
fire
here for
showed
almost a
signs of
few
melting.
thousand years.
Seeing this,
Looking at the
Lin
Pai
Rei
Shou,
smiled.
Lin Rei opened his mouth
Hee
to
hee,
negotiate.
it's finally melted.
Brother Pai Shou, you
As
see,
long as it
I had
melts,
something to do
it
before,
will be soon.
so I won't come.
After saying
But
that, the
I
fire
saw
became
something
stronger.
too. No,
Asterisk
I don't
hung.
want to do it.
Asterisk at this moment.
Pai Shou
outside
had
the room,
basically figured
Zhuge
out
He
Lin
was
Rei's
still waiting.
nature after so many years.
He did not dare to take half
In
a
the
step
Pai
away.
Shou's heart, Lin Rei was
After
a
all,
shameless
this
and
was for
shameless
him.
person. But he was a
Sigh,
righteous person
it would
who
be
kept
great
his
if
oath.
such a genius could be my
However,
son-in-law.
for Lin Rei's shamelessness
enough.
and his oath,
The Pai
thinking of
Shou
this,
had already
Zhuge He
experienced
could
it.
not help but smile at
When he
Xie
saw
Feng.
Lin Rei just now,
Then,
the Pai
a
Shou's
disappointed
right
expression
eyelid began
appeared
to
on his
twitch
face.
wildly.
The
As
alchemy
the saying
conference
goes,
was completely
one doesn't
disbanded.
visit a temple without a cause.
When the sects returned to their own
Now
sects,
that Lin Rei
they
came,
spread the news
he
of
must
what
have
happened
something
at the
to say.
alchemy conference.
Some people even added oil to the fire. Suddenly,
Sure enough,
the hottest
just when the
topic in
Pai
the inner
Shou
layer
was
of the
thinking,
divine world
Lin
was
Rei
the alchemy
opened his mouth
competition
and said
between
exactly
Lin
the
Rei
same
and
as
another
him.
mysterious woman.
Then,
He
whether
immediately
it was
said
eating,
the three-nosed
strolling on the
policy that he
streets,
had
or
thought of
going to the
before.
martial arts arena,
So
everyone
sure.
was talking about Lin Rei.
Looking at the Pai Shou's straightforward
Suddenly,
refusal,
Lin Rei became
for
the
a
focal
moment,
point of
Lin
the
Rei
entire
asked
divine
awkwardly.
world.
Of
Yes,
course,
I'm so
people
sure
were not afraid
you.
of fame. Seeing that
Pigs
the
were
Pai
not
Shou
afraid
was
of
so
being
stubborn,
fat.
Lin Rei was silent.
Ever since the news
The last
of Lin
time you
Rei's
came,
strength
you
spread,
asked me to give
some
you a
people
drop
were
of
not
blood
convinced.
essence. In the
You
end,
said that the
they
thing that you
gathered
could
in
say
Xiong
must not
City
be
to
a small
challenge
matter,
Lin Rei
so
and
it's
become
normal that I
famous.
don't agree.
Lin Rei,
Facing Lin
who was
Rei's finding the
silence.
divine weapon,
The Pai
did not
panicked.
know about all this. Although he said the
Of
three
course,
nose policy,
even if he knew,
he was a bit
he would just
uncertain
laugh
about
it
Lin
off.
Rei. At the
After
very
all,
least,
Lin
he would
Rei
kill
was the
all
kind of
those who
person
came
who
to
fought
challenge him as a
silently,
warning to
and
others.
every time,
It was a big
At this
fart.
time,
More than 10 days had passed. Listening to the words
In
of
the
the Pai
room,
show,
Lin Rei,
who was
thought
sitting
about it
cross-legged,
and then
took out a 9
smiled.
revolutions Hunyuan Dan. Finally, since all this
of you
pill
have
was
turned
useful
into
for
molten iron.
Xiaofeng, it would be even
Looking
more
at the
useful
molten
for the
iron
Pai
in the
show.
fire,
He found a special
Sure enough,
container and
as
put
soon
the
as the
molten
pill
iron
was
in.
taken out,
The medicinal
Phew,
fragrance
after
drifted in
doing
the
all
air.
this,
Lin Rei
the Pai
breathed a
show's
sigh
body
of relief.
suddenly stood up and whispered
However,
with a shocked face.
he immediately tensed
9
up
revolutions
again.
Hunyuan Dan.
After all, This
next
is 9
step was the final
revolutions Hunyuan
refinement.
Dan. Yes,
Thinking
it
about
must
the
be.
style of the divine weapon
As he
that
said,
Zhuge He wanted,
his eyes locked on the
spiritual
small
energy
pill
rushed
in
out of his
Lin Rei's
body
hand.
and formed a sword embryo.
It really is.
This sword embryo
At
was
this
made
moment,
strictly
the
according to
Pai
Zhuge
Xiu
He's
smiled with
requirements.
surprise.
Everything
The
was
9
ready
revolutions
except for the East
Hunyuan
Wind.
Dan could be said to be of great
Seeing
use
that the
to him.
sword embryo was ready,
How could he not
poured
like
the
it?
molten iron into the
Give
sword
it to
embryo
me,
according
give it
to
to
the
me,
order in his
whatever
heart.
you want.
I will agree
Each
to
and
it as
every
long
one
as
of
you
these
supply me
materials
with
could
the
cause a
9
bloodbath
revolutions
in the divine
Hunyuan
world.
Thinking of the
Lin
previous
Rei
Pai
felt that he
Xiu's
had suffered a
unyielding
great
appearance.
loss.
For a moment,
However,
after thinking
as
about
a person,
Lin Rei had
honesty
the
was
urge
the
to
most
laugh out
important
loud.
thing.
However,
Since he had promised,
seeing that the
he
Pai
had to do
Xiu
it.
finally agreed,
Watching
Lin Rei
as the
quickly
long
said,
sword slowly
well,
took shape,
as long as
Lin
you
Rei
agree,
took out some
I will
liquid
give you
violet
the
gold
9
soft
revolutions
iron,
Hunyuan
then
Dan.
applied a layer of seal to it.
Whoosh! As soon as his voice
10,000
fell,
hammers
a white
smelting
wave of
heavenly
air
art
instantly came
merged.
out of the Pai Xiu's mouth.
With a loud shout,
and then instantly
he came in
activated
front
the
of Lin
forging
Rei,
technique, rolled up the 9 revolutions
Lin Lei's
Hunyuan
palms
Dan
clenched
in Lin
into
Rei's
fists,
hand,
and
then
one
finally
punch
accurately
after another
fell into
landed
the
on
mouth
the long
of the Pai
sword
Xiu.
within the embryonic form.
Phew! Peng!
Awesome.
Peng! 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 That tapping
At this
sound
moment,
caused
the
Lin
Pai
Rei to
Xiu
feel a
was
hint
very
of joy in his
satisfied.
heart. But he was very curious
At the
about
same
how
time,
Lin Rei
Lin Rei
refined
could
such a
feel
high
that
grade
his
spiritual energy and other
How did you
aspects were
refine the 9
slowly
revolutions
improving.
Hunyuan Dan?
Heh! Following
As far
which,
as I know,
a series of
only
knocking
that old
sounds
fart
reverberated
Hongjun
throughout
has
this
this kind of
entire
pill.
room.
You, Hongjun.
Spirit gathering array,
Old
merge.
fart.
In the instant that
Hearing
Lin
the
Rei hammered
question
the
of the
long
Pai
sword,
Xiu,
one
Lin Rei
formation
was
after
stunned.
another was imprinted onto the
He
long
knew
sword
about
by
Hong
Lin Rei's
Jun.
hammering technique. Now, the
Divine
enemy said that
flame
he was
pattern,
old fart,
blade pattern.
However, Lin Rei did not stay on this question for long.
Chapter
and immediately
743.
explained, I got this
One
by
by one,
accident.
the
You don't have
honorable
to
level
care about the
formations
rest.
and runes
You just need to
were
know
fused
that
into
I can give you
flexible
what you
sword
want.
by Lin
That's
Rei
enough.
at the fastest speed possible.
Hearing this, the Pai
Of
Xiu
course,
nodded his
even
head.
though
they were honorable level
That's
runes
true.
and formations,
Tell
most
me,
of them were
what do you
small
want me
and
to do?
simple, unlike the Sect protection formation. After all, this was just refining
It's
a
very
weapon,
simple.
and the
Drag
flexible
us to
sword
the
couldn't
ancient quartz
withstand the support of the
depository.
startling
Then the
formation.
deal
between us will be over.
Time
What do you
passed
think?
slowly.
Lin
In
Rei
the blink
said
of
his
an eye,
plan. More than 10 days
This,
had passed.
at
this moment, after
During
hearing
this
Lin
period,
Rei's words,
Lin Rei's
the
mental
Pai
state
Xiu
had
had been at its
hesitated.
most tense.
He did not expect
Lin Rei to
Moreover,
ask such a question.
during this
period of time.
As a
He had
member
been
of the
fusing
untainted
formations,
tribe,
born by
runes,
heaven
and
and
earth,
refining weapons.
he had a
noble status. Even
But now he
honorable
was
level
being ridden by a
cultivator
small
couldn't
emperor
withstand
god
it. Cultivator.
At
This
this
made him
moment,
lose face. Lin Rei's face was pale
However,
and his breathing
when he
was
thought
weak,
of the 9
as if he would
revolutions
faint at
Hunyuan
any
Dan,
moment. The so-called face
it was
disappeared.
worried.
Thinking
Phew.
of this, the Pai Xiu
Soon,
agreed. Feeling that the weapon was about to
Okay,
be completed,
it's settled.
Lin Rei was delighted.
Good.
To be
In
honest,
that case,
if not
I'll let
counting
you
the
out in a
worldly
while.
splendor, and then
This
take
was
us
his
to the
first time
ancient
quartz
quartz
depository
supreme
at the
grade weapon in the
fastest
truest
speed.
sense of the word. The Pai Xiu agreed.
Moreover,
and
he
Lin Rei
pursued
was very
perfection
happy.
too much.
Immediately,
Therefore,
it was
divine
inevitable
sense
that he would
exited the
expend a
system.
lot of energy. At this moment,
Of course,
in the outside
outside,
world,
the
Zhuge
meal was
He and the
over.
rest, including
Looking
Xie
at
Feng,
everyone's
had
enjoyment,
been waiting. Lin Rei said, after
Okay,
not seeing
since
Lin
everyone
Rei
is
for
full,
such a long
let's go.
time, Xie Feng was very anxious. In response to
This
Lin
was the
Rei's
first
words,
time that he had
everyone
taken so
nodded
long
in
to
agreement.
refine
a weapon. Looking at everyone, Lin Rei nodded
Weapon
with a
complete.
smile, and
Finally,
then asked
at
Chu
this moment,
Xi to pay. After the last formation
The
was
moment
engraved
Lin
on the
Rei and
flexible
the others
sword,
walked out
the
of the
supreme
restaurant,
grade weapon
they
was
flew up
finally
into the
completed.
sky.
Huff,
Come
huff,
out.
huff. At this
The
moment,
next moment,
the originally
a huge
clear
monster
sky was
appeared in
blown
the
by a
sky.
strong wind. Immediately,
Vaguely,
the area
everyone
under the
could
huge
feel a
monster
trace
was
of the
covered
pressure
by
of
its heaven
shadow,
and earth in the
and it
wind.
became dark.
Although it was
Hiss.
very faint, but
That
everyone
is-
present was a powerful
Oh my
cultivator.
God,
what is that thing? How could they not be able to
The
receive
moment
it? Everyone saw the Pai Xiu,
Rumble.
they began to talk
Rumble.
about it. Suddenly,
Even
the originally
Xie Feng,
clear blue
Chu
sky
Xi,
suddenly
Yun
lost
Kai,
its color, and the rogue Hua Yui,
one black
who were
cloud
beside
after
Lin
another
Rei,
began to
could
gather
not
from
help
every
but be
direction.
shocked when they saw the Pai Xiu. Finally, with Lin Lei's room
Pai
at the center,
Xiu.
it began to disperse
this
in
time,
every direction.
Xie
Feng, who had
The
recovered,
sound of rolling
revealed
thunder
the
reached
identity of the
everyone's
Pai
ears
Xiu
at
this moment. Lin Rei
At the
was
same
not
time,
surprised by
the
this.
pressure of
After
heaven and
all,
earth
they were
instantly
the first
pressed down,
creatures in the
crushing
untainted
everyone's
land.
bodies.
Okay,
Cultivators
let's not talk
below
about
Sir
it.
God
Let's leave
Fan
quickly.
were all
suppressed by the pressure
Instead
of
of
heaven
answering
and earth
Xie
at this moment
Feng's
without
question
exception.
directly,
He took Xie
Hiss.
Feng
At
and the
this
other
moment,
two and disappeared
outside the door,
instantly.
Zhuge He could feel
When
the
they
thunderclouds in the sky.
they were
already on the back of the pie
Immediately,
he looked at Lin
As for
Rei's
Hua
room with a
Yuan,
burning
she was
gaze.
still
in the same place,
At this
looking
moment,
dazed,
combined
and did
with
not
the
come to
sudden
her change in the
senses.
environment and the thunderclouds in the sky.
Let's go.
The only thing he could
At
think
this
of was the
time,
completion
the
of
Pai
the divine
Shil,
weapon, who had been waiting for a long
the
time.
heaven and earth
Heard
lightning
Lin Rei's
tribulation.
words and instantly disappeared
Apart from
into
the
the baptism
sky.
of the lightning tribulation and tempering oneself. There were also heaven-defying formations, talismans, pills,
Chapter
and heaven-shaking
751.
divine artifacts.
You guys,
At this moment,
Looking
when
at the
Lin Rei
lightning
and the rest had
tribulation above his
disappeared,
head, Hua
apart
Yuan
from Lin
regained her
Rei's
senses.
divine tool, he couldn't
She
think of
could no
anyone
longer
else who
see
could
Lin Rei
transcend
and the
lightning
rest of them.
tribulation here, or
In
any
the
other
end,
kind of
in
lightning
order to
tribulation.
catch up
to Lin Rei,
Yuyuin used all her strength.
Looks like it's done.
Stepping on lotuses and
the
pushing
side,
her movement technique to the
felt
extreme.
the lightning tribulation rolling
High
in the
Sky City
and
was
the
the only
shocking
large
pressure of
city
heaven
next
and
to the
earth.
ancient corpse burial ground.
She was not surprised at all.
Originally, the
place
corner
was
of her
empty,
mouth curled
and
up
no one
slightly,
came here,
revealing a relieved smile.
After all,
there were no
she
cultivation
said,
resources.
this kid always
and
brings
no
sex,
surprises, except for the original
Previously,
residents. He was only upgrading
However,
the divine
every few
tools
thousand
realm
years,
based on the
there
original
would always
foundation.
be a
period of time when this
Now,
ghost town
he's
would be
even
very refined
lively.
a supreme divine consciousness.
It would be a boiling cauldron of voices.
Looks like it won't be
and
long
flowers
before he
would
can
bloom
refine
like
a
a
sacred
brocade.
weapon.
Today,
Sacred
the
weapons
city
are
was
also
bustling
known
with
as
people
acquired
and carriages.
absolute treasures and innate absolute
During this
treasures.
period of
time, various
However,
forces had
the
gathered from
difference
all
is that
directions.
innate
Absolute treasures are created
Regardless
by
of
heaven
whether
and
they were
earth.
third-grade sects or
They're
first-grade
extremely
sects,
powerful
they
and
all
carry
had
the
to
power
rush
of
in.
heaven and earth.
Immediately,
All the
acquired
restaurants
absolute
and
treasures
inns
and
are
refined
refined by
city
heaven
were
and
filled
earth.
with people.
Although
The
they're
rain
also very
sect,
powerful,
the sword
they can
sect,
only
the
run for
tool
their
sect,
lives if
the
they
erase
encounter
sect,
innate
and
absolute
even the
treasures.
pill sect,
Which was ranked at the
this
bottom
moment,
of the
the
seven
appearance
sects
of the lightning
brought their people
tribulation
into
had
Sky
alarmed
City.
all the powerful cultivators
this
in
time,
in Sky City,
including the people
in the largest
in charge of
restaurant,
guarding the major
Storm
sections.
House. A very funny
At this
and interesting
moment,
thing
experts
happened.
from all directions gathered
At this
towards
time,
the thunderclouds
a disciple
in a wearing the
frenzy.
rain sect's uniform
They were
walked
curious
into the
about
restaurant.
who was undergoing the lightning
Seeing
tribulation
that it was
here.
full of people, he was
After
stunned
all,
and said to the
the
waiter,
9 heavenly tribulations would
hurry
only
up
happen
and find
when
us a
one
seat.
broke through to the ultimate God
Let us
realm.
eat. Hurry up. Everyone was curious and vigilant at the same time.
At this moment,
the water
after
sect's
all,
disciples'
if a
strong
ultimate
aura
God
made the
appeared in
waiter's
one of the
legs
sects,
tremble. It would be a potential
he
threat
turned
to
around
their
to see if there
sections.
was an empty seat.
However, they did
Sure
not know
enough,
that this
the
was not
result
the
was in front of
9
him.
heavenly tribulations.
Then,
but the
with an
supreme
embarrassed
divine weapon
smile,
refined
he turned
by Lin
around
Ray
and
apologized to the water
Because
sect's
of its
disciple.
heaven-defying
I'm
power,
sorry, the
sir.
heavens and earth did not
As you
allow
can
it to
see,
exist.
our
restaurant is full.
Therefore,
So, the lightning
of
tribulation
course,
descended to destroy
if you want to
it.
wait,
You can wait for a
Lin
while.
Ray, who was in the room,
After
did
everyone
not care
finishes
about what was
eating,
happening
you can
in the
go
outside
up.
world.
I just don't
At
know
this
if you
moment,
can wait. Lin Ray stood up
the
and looked at
attitude
the
of the
floating
water
flexible
school's
sword with his
disciples had
divine
already
consciousness.
affected the people eating on the first
It
floor.
was as thin as a cicada's
The
wing
entire
and was
first
extremely
floor
soft.
quieted down.
The design
Everyone's
was
eyes
exquisite
were
and
on
it
the
was
water
very
school
attractive.
disciples,
Some of them
At
full
the
of
same
mockery.
time,
The suppressive might
some
of
of
the
their
flaxable
eyes were
sword,
filled with disdain,
as well as a
and some of
soul-piercing
their
sword
eyes were
aura,
filled with
rose
disgust.
into the air.
Of course,
If it hadn't been
there
for
were
the
also
fact that
those
Lin
whose
Lee had
eyes
set
were
up a
filled with
formation
fear.
prior to the forging process,
The water sect
most
had a
likely the
transcendent
entire
status in
room
the
would have been
God realm,
destroyed by
and
the
wasn't
sword
something
aura
that
emanating
small
from the
sects like
sword.
theirs could compare to.
Sensing
When the
the
water sect
terrifying
members
sword
heard
chi,
what the waiter
even
said,
Lin Lee,
their
the
expressions
person who
grew
had
even
forged
more
it,
ferocious.
was shocked. They looked
This
like
was
they
something
wanted to
he had
kill
not
someone.
expected.
He had not expected this weapon
We're
to be so
disciples of the
powerful.
water school.
Of course,
Aren't you afraid
such a
that the
powerful
water school
sword
will
chi
kill you
was not
all?
worth mentioning to him.
An outspoken and
After
narrow-minded
all,
person
he
from
was
the
not
water
only a
sect ignored the
cultivator,
gazes
but
of the
also a
crowd and
body
the face of the
cultivator.
Stormwind House's owner.
His body was strong and unparalleled. His body alone
He
was
shut
enough
his
to
mouth
fight
and
against the
threatened the
mid-ultimate
Stormwind House
god
owner.
expert. Regarding
Lin
this
Ray
point,
did not care
everyone's
about the sword
expression
chi emitted
changed
by
at
the
this
long
moment
sword.
and became unified. The original ridicule,
However,
at
this
this
moment,
and
a few
disgust
words
all
appeared
turned
on the
into the
hilt of the
attitude
sword.
of watching a show. Lin Ray knew
They
that he
all
was
knew
the one
that
who
although the
refined
owner
the
of
sword,
Stormwind
but he
House
did not
wasn't
leave
part of
his
the
name
seven
on it.
sects.
She was still
The
very
only
strong.
thing Lin Lee could think of was that this
After all,
top-grade
in the
divine
God
artifact
realm,
had
if
already
someone
gained
mentioned the
sentience,
jade-faced
and the
Rakshasa,
heavens and the
they'd
earth
think of
itself
her
had
as
been
the
born.
owner of Stormwind House.
When he thought of this, Lin
Stormwind
Lee felt
House
a
had
surge of
charged into a
excitement.
first-rank sect all by
If that
herself,
was the case,
and no
then
one had
his
been able
sword
to
could be
stop her.
considered as an acquired divine weapon.
Your water school really
The
does
three
have a lot
words,
of face
purple
now.
Qilin sword, made
You don't
Lin
even
Ray
put
happy.
me in your eyes. He could feel the
It looks like
excitement
those
coming
old
out of the
bastards
sword.
have forgotten about me after
He could
all
feel
these
the
years of
excitement of the
seclusion.
heaven's retribution outside.
Just as the atmosphere became
all
extremely
right.
awkward and quiet.
Since you want to go
An
through the
extremely
heavens
enchanting
retribution
woman
yourself,
walked down the stairs.
then go ahead. Her face
Let me
was
see
full
how
of charm,
powerful your
and her
purple
body was
Qilin sword
curvaceous.
is.
She
Lin
gave
Ray
off an
understood the
exquisite
meaning
feeling.
of the long sword.
However,
It
he
was
did not
precisely
stop
this
it, and
kind of woman
immediately
that
that caused everyone's gazes
With
to
a
be
wave
filled
of
with
his hand,
admiration
he
and
removed the
adoration the
formation
moment
that was
she
protecting
appeared.
the room.
That included
Whoosh,
the water
the
school
moment the
disciples.
formation was removed.
Who
The
the
purple
fuck do you
Qilin
think you
sword
are?
could not help but break
What
through the
right
room
do you
and
have to
soar
speak?
into the sky. Who do you think you are?
At this moment,
the people
Aren't
who
you
were
just a
waiting
toy for us
outside
to play
naturally
with?
saw the purple light that rushed out of the
Seriously.
room. After
However,
the speed of the purple
the young
light
man
was
who
too
had been
fast,
cursing in a
and no one
particularly
saw it
carefree
clearly.
manner was instantly sent
However,
flying.
when the purple light
The
rushed
instant
into
he
the
was
air
sent
and
flying,
stopped in
while
midair,
he was still in the
everyone
air,
was shocked.
he had already lost all signs
This was
of
because
life
it was
and
not
turned
a
into an
person
ice-cold
standing in
corpse.
midair, but a long sword.
Hiss.
At
Everyone
the same
couldn't
time,
help but
because
suck in a
Lin
breath of
Ray's
cold
formation
air.
was no longer controlling
It was rumored that
the
when the
shocking
jade-faced
sword
Rakshasa
rushed out of the
attacked,
sword and
corpses
towards
would
the
litter the
thunderclouds
ground.
in the sky. No one even
This
knew
was
how
a
she did it.
provocation, a blatant provocation.
Now that they'd seen it for themselves,
It was
they
as if
knew
it
that
was
the
saying,
rumors weren't
"Hit me,
baseless.
hit me."
You, feeling the shocking
The
sword
water
chi,
school disciple
everyone
looked
was
at his
shocked.
junior brother who'd been sent flying.
However, they also knew
when he
that
sensed
this was
no
an item
signs
without
of
an
life.
owner. He was shocked. This was because an item
At the
that
same
could go through the
time,
heavens
he remembered
retribution
that the
must have just
jade-faced
been made.
Rakshasa was the reason
The owner had
House
not
had
been able
time
to
to
stand
make it.
for so long.
At this moment,
However,
when Zhuge
he
He
regretted
saw the
that
long
it was too
sword
late.
in the sky,
His
they
breathing
had
quickened
quickened
and his
offended
eyes
the
were
woman
filled
in
with
front of
shock.
them.
Supreme. I've been in
Supreme
power for
divine
many
weapon.
years. It's really
I
a
didn't think I'd be
supreme
taken
divine
advantage
weapon.
of by a bunch of brats.
At this moment, he
Ha ha.
believed. How laughable.
He was completely convinced by
The
Lin Rei.
jade-faced Rakshasa's voice was
Before
cold.
he had seen the long sword,
Madam,
he had been
I think your
suspicious and
punishment was a
curious
bit
as
light.
to whether or not Linley would
If
be
it were
able
up
to
to
forge
me,
a top
we
grade
should have
divine
just killed them
artifact.
all. But
Wouldn't
now,
that be enough?
he was completely convinced.
That's right, madam.
At the same time,
Look at
their
those
respect
shifty
for Linley
eyes.
was as endless as the
It's
waters of the
obvious the
Yellow
water
River.
school didn't teach them well.
Their admiration for Linley
Why don't
was
we just let them
indescribable.
die here so they don't pollute the
Gotcha.
air of the god
At this
realm?
moment, the heavens
Ha ha ha.
retribution felt the provocation
Well
of the
said.
long sword and was
The
instantly
water
enraged.
school is nothing more than that. It
They're
originally
complete
wanted to
idiots.
destroy the long sword.
The water
but now
Sect
that it was
members'
provoking
faces
it,
were ashen,
the heavens
and their hearts
retribution
were
could
burning
not
with
ignore
rage.
What's
Suddenly,
going on?
a lightning whip as thick
Bai
as an arm
Xiaochun's
rushed
face was
towards
ashen,
the purple
and his
Qilin
eyes
sword.
were filled with rage.
It was extremely fast and powerful.
At this moment, everyone was filled with
Those
worry.
who were able to make it here were
This
all
was because
elites of their
everyone thought
sections.
that when a divine weapon went
They
through
had
the
never
heavens
suffered
retribution,
such humiliation
there would
in their
usually be a
sections.
weapon refiner by its side
Now,
to help it through
after
the
hearing
heavens
the
discussions
discussions
of the crowd and the killing
But
intent
now,
of the
everyone
jade-faced
only
Rakshasa.
saw the long
They
sword
wanted to
and
vent
did not
their
see
anger.
the weapon refiner.
However, they
This
couldn't
made
because the
everyone
person
worried.
standing in front of them was an
At the
expert
same
of the same
time,
generation
they
as
felt
their
sorry
elders.
for the divine weapon that was
He was a
resisting the
mountain that
heavens
they couldn't
retribution.
cross yet.
Of
The
course,
water school
this included
disciples could
Zhuge
only
He.
grit their teeth and swallow
He wanted
their
to
anger.
rush up to help the sword.
In the
but
end,
he knew that
they
if
could
he
only
did,
wait
the
until they were
heavens
strong
retribution
enough to
would
get their
increase by
revenge.
several times.
But now,
This
they could
way,
only bow
the long
and
sword
apologize.
would be in even more danger.
I'm sorry,
In
everyone.
the end, his impulse
I'm
was
sorry,
suppressed.
Senor Jura.
He could only stay on the
We were
ground
rash
and look
and
at the
didn't
long
consider your
sword in the
opinions.
sky while praying silently
We'll
in his
leave
heart.
now.
Whoosh.
Enjoy your meal.
Just as the lightning whip was
With
about
that
to
said,
collide with the
Shui
long sword,
Zongxin left the
crowd
Stormwind
could
House
not
in front
bear
of
to
everyone's
watch and
eyes.
instinctively closed their eyes.
Ha ha ha.
At this
Laughter
moment,
erupted
they
from the
felt
mouths
the power
of the
of the
Water Sect
lightning
members
whip.
as soon as they emerged
The
from the
purple
Gale-Rain
Qilin
Tavern.
sword trembled and a shocking
The
sword
sound
aura
caused the
rushed out.
faces of the Water Sect members
Finally,
to turn as
the
red
sword
as pig
aura
liver,
turned into a
and their
gigantic
hearts to
sword
fill
and
with
collided
resentment
with
and
the lightning
hatred.
whip.
Kacha, a strange
Just you
sound
wait.
was heard.
Sooner
The
or
moment
later,
the
I'll be
gigantic
back
sword
for
aura
revenge.
collided with the lightning whip,
The young man from the
lightning
water
whip did
school
not
turned,
resist at all
glared
and
at the
instantly
Stormwind House
shattered into
signboard,
pieces,
and then left with his people.
Then, it dissipated
Young
into the
master,
air. What do we do next?
Good.
At this moment,
Strong
Chu
indeed.
Ci,
At this
seated by the
moment,
window
Lin
on the
Rei,
second
who was
floor
in
of
the room
Stormwind
spied
Manor,
on the
was
situation
asking
in the
Linley
sky
for
through the
instructions.
giant hole above his head.
When he saw
Let's
that
wait
Lin
and
Rei's
see.
first heaven's
The
retribution
ancient
was easily
corpse vault
blocked by
hasn't
the
opened
purple
yet,
Qilin
and
sword,
all the sects
he
are
was
stirring.
relieved. I don't
After
want to
all,
appear in
a
front of
divine
them so
weapon's
soon.
retribution was not like a
It's best
cultivator's
if Ming Yuan
retribution.
doesn't know I've been here.
A divine weapon's
That
retribution
way,
only had
I can
4
sneak
bolts
in,
of retribution,
take the 10
but a
treasures,
supreme
and
god's
leave.
retribution had 81 bolts
Lin
of
Rei
retribution.
and the others were sitting on the second
That was
floor.
no joke.
If one was not careful, the final result
more
would
than
be a
2
body
months had
smashed
passed
to
since
pieces
Linley
and
left
not even a
Jade
corpse
City.
would be left behind.
In these 2 months,
Even
the
if
Pai
one's
Shou's
souls could
group
enter
had
the
crossed
cycle of
several
reincarnation
continents.
before finally arriving at the closest
No,
city to the
it could
ancient
not be
corpse trove.
guaranteed that one's soul would
In the
remain in
past
this
few
world.
days, Lin Rei's
When he
life
saw
had
the
been rich and
gigantic
exciting.
sword aura emitted by the purple
Apart from
Qilin
cultivating
sword,
on the
he knew
Pishio's
that
back,
this level of
he
heaven's
spent the rest of his
retribution
time
was useless
refining
against
pills.
it.
In the
Relieved,
past 2
Linley
months
straightened
alone,
out his
Linley
clothes,
had refined
then
hundreds
opened
of
the
9
door and walked
revolutions
out.
mixed energy pills.
However,
The divine
However,
weapon that was
he didn't
refined
use
this
a
time
single
is very
one.
strong.
Instead,
It can fight
he
on
gave
its
all
own
of them
and
to the
even
demonic
release such a
phoenix,
terrifying
as well as
sword
the
aura.
Pishio that carried them.
TSK.
Of course,
In the
kid,
beginning,
you've
the
improved on the
Pishio
path
and
of
the demonic
craftsmanship.
phoenix had nearly come to
Linley
blows
didn't
over
know
the
where he
pills.
had come from,
But as
but
soon
for
as he
some
stepped
reason,
out of his
in
room,
the end,
a red
the two of
robed
them
demonic
came to an
phoenix
agreement
appeared
that
in
each
front
of
of him
them
and
wanted
spoke
half
out
of
in
the
praise
pills
that Linley had refined.
Linley
Why
didn't
don't you
know
take
whether
a
to
look
laugh
at who
or
refined
cry
it?
at this,
But he
couldn't
Lin Rei
refuse.
was already used to Xia
In the
Feng's
end,
appearance.
he could only smile bitterly
After all,
and nod.
her appearance was similar
Although
to
he
that
didn't
of the
want
little
to,
dragon.
dragon. He still had to do it. Therefore, Lin Ray was not too surprised. The refinement process of the 9 revolutions mixed energy pill and the spiritual Lin Ray's ingredients required were astronomical prices, rolled her eyes yet they had been refined and let him understand the meaning behind her words. Boom. Gotcha. Just as Lin Ray and Xia Feng finished their conversation, there would probably be a few saints who would become restless and fight over them. However, this time, after all, it was 3 to 4 times stronger than before. That could be easily obtained. It was as thick as Lin Ray's waist. Apart from a few powerful figures feeling the power of the heavens' retribution, others could only cultivate in the Saints' world and a gigantic sword to strengthen their own cultivation. Whoosh! At this moment, in my
without
opinion,
waiting for the
we might
heavens
as well go
retribution
straight
to
into the
act.
ancient
The gigantic
corpse vault.
sword aura moved first.
The sudden words attracted
The gigantic
Lin Rei's
sword
attention.
aura disappeared in front of
At this
everyone's
moment,
eyes.
the person who spoke was
When it
CFO.
reappeared,
It was right in
You
front
want
of
to
the
go
heavens
straight in?
retribution. You have to know
Then,
that the ancient
without
corpse
hesitation,
vault hasn't opened
it pierced
yet.
the heavens retribution
You.
towards the heavens retribution
Lin
without
Rei was
any
puzzled.
hesitation.
Sigh.
Gotcha.
Hearing Lin
Gotcha.
Rei's words,
The same scene
CFO
happened
sighed
again.
helplessly and said,
The
"So
second
what if it
heavens
hasn't
retribution
opened?
was dispersed by the
Have you
gigantic
forgotten
sword.
that although it's sealed, it's
However,
just talismans
the
and
gigantic
formations.
sword did not disappear because
No matter
of the
how wrong it
disappearance of the
is,
second heavens
it's just a
retribution.
restriction.
Instead,
I don't believe that
its
with your
aura
current level of
disappeared and it
formations,
rushed towards
you
the
can't
heavens
break it.
retribution.
Of course,
Even if you
at
can't
the
break it
same
now,
time,
it's
Lin
still
Rei
better than
felt the
doing it
purple
here.
Qilin sword's actions.
After Xia Feng's words,
Instantly,
Lin Rei
his
was
face
stunned
changed
and fell
and
silent.
he knew something was wrong.
That's right.
If it was a normal
The
heavens
seal is at most
retribution,
made up of
it would be
formations
fine.
or talismans.
However, if
With
the
my
sword
current
aura
level,
rushed into the heavens
maybe I
retribution
can really
and caused
break
the
it.
heavens retribution
As
to
he thought
dissipate
about
prematurely,
this, for the sake
what
of getting
awaited
more
was an even
information,
more terrifying
Linley's
heavens
divine will enter the
retribution.
system and began to ask
ML
questions.
thinking of this, Lin Rei did
System,
not stop.
tell me. In the next
If
moment,
I'm now,
his
can
body
I break the
disappeared
seal
from
outside
spot.
the ancient corpse vault?
At this moment,
He
Lin
knew
Rei
the purple
stopped
Qilin
talking.
sword's intention.
After a while,
Immediately,
the system spoke.
he rushed towards the sky
I
at
don't
his
know.
fastest speed.
I
Wanting
haven't
to stop
seen
it.
the ancient corpse vault
But
and don't know how
it seemed
strong
like
the
it was too
restriction
late.
outside is.
The gigantic
sword
aura
rushed towards the heavens
Hearing
retribution.
this, Lin Rei smiled
Suddenly,
awkwardly and
rays
continued.
of purple light
It doesn't
came
matter
down
if
from
you
the
haven't
heavens
seen it.
retribution. According to your
Boom,
imagination, if I can break the seal outside the ancient corpse vault,
feeling the
what are the
heavens
chances?
retribution disappear.
At
He
this
knew
time,
that it was too
the
late.
system was speechless and
Thinking
didn't
of
say
the powerful
anything.
heavens retribution,
In this
Lin
regard,
Rei felt
Lin Rei
helpless.
looked at the system and didn't
He
have
did not
any further
expect the sword
confirmation.
to act so recklessly.
Finally, he fell
But at
silent.
the same time,
he was
All
shocked
right,
by the
since
sword's
that's the
recklessness.
case, I'll leave first.
One had to know that a legendary
see when I
weapon
reach
could
the
not
ancient
fight on
corpse
its own,
vault.
let alone disperse
After
the heavens
saying that,
retribution.
he
instantly exited
With
the system
pride in
and
his
returned
heart,
to his body.
Lin Rei sensed that the heavens
At this
retribution
moment,
was
he made a
dispersing.
decision.
Immediately,
He would go to the
he appeared
ancient
in front
corpse
of the
vault
purple
first.
Qilin sword in a flash
No
and
matter if
grabbed
he
it
could
in his
break
hand.
it or not, there
Then,
was no harm
he
in
turned
going
around
first.
and rushed towards Xiafeng.
After all, there was an old
Sigh.
saying that the early bird gets
What a
the worm.
troublemaker.
Lin Rei
It's fine
believed
if he's
that
a
this saying
troublemaker,
was well
but
founded.
I didn't expect that the legendary
All right,
weapon he
since that's
created
the
would be
case,
so troublesome.
we'll go
as
to
well.
the ancient corpse vault later and break the seal.
Looking at Lin Rei
I'd
flying
like to see how
towards her,
strong this
she
seal
understood
is.
what he meant.
Don't be fooled
She
by
smiled
Linley's
helplessly
self-confidence
and disappeared.
Beneath his
When she
confident
reappeared,
exterior,
she was
however,
already in
was
front
an
of Lin
extremely
Rei.
guilty conscience.
Looking at him,
Although he
Xiafeng
felt that
rolled
his
her
own
eyes
level of
and
insight
said,
was
"If
very
you
high,
create such a
for him
reckless
to be
weapon
able to
again,
break through a
I can
Tibetan
destroy
seal,
it without
one
the
could
heavens
imagine how
retribution."
powerful the seal was.
Whoosh!
With that, Xiafeng disappeared in front of Lin Rei again. At
Of
this
course,
time,
the
hearing
only way to reach
Xiafeng's
the ancient
words,
corpse
Lin
vault
Rei
was to
shrugged
cross
his
the
shoulders
entire
and
sky
flew
mountain
towards the
range.
ground. In this
Sure
mountain
enough,
range,
the moment
there were
Lin
all
Rei
kinds of
landed
demonic
safely on the
beasts.
ground.
The dissipating
Some
heavens
people even
even
said
said
that
that
in
in
the
important areas of the sky
But the
mountain
difference
range,
was that the
there were a
heavens
few godly
retribution was
venerable
blood-red.
level demonic beasts. Rumble. No matter if it was strength, physical body, or realm, they were
Chapter
all very
744.
strong.
Moreover,
Oh my God,
the demonic
that's
beast's
hell
great
of
Tao
blood.
would reach a certain level and
At
become
this
a human.
moment, all
Just
the
like
cultivators in
Xiafeng,
Xiong City,
no different from
including the
ordinary
ordinary people, could feel
Yes.
the powerful and evil aura from
All
the
right.
sky. Hearing
The evil
Lin Rei's
aura was on a
words,
completely
the three
different
of them
level
nodded
from the
and
black
agreed.
lightning tribulation.
They were not willing to
The
bring
previous
too many
lightning
people here.
tribulation would at most immobilize
After
the
all,
cultivators.
there were too many
but this
people
hell
here.
of blood was the most terrifying
If they were
one
to
among
bump
all
into
the
that familiar
tribulation
person,
clouds,
then trouble would come one
the
after
hell of
another.
blood was a weapon tribulation.
This was something that Lin Rei
Only
did
a
not want to see
heaven-defying
happen.
weapon could attract such
It
a
was
lightning
also something
tribulation.
that they did not want to see happen.
Not only could it destroy the
Young
weapon,
master,
but it could
Hua
also
Yuan,
corrode the person
what do you
who
plan
made
to
it.
do? Although
Should
the
he
person
wait?
who was suppressed by it would
Or
not
do
be
we just
directly
leave?
hit by the lightning tribulation,
The sudden words
their
made
body
Lin
and
Rei,
subsequent
Lin
cultivation
Rei,
would be
Chu
damaged
Xiai,
to a certain
and
extent.
Xiafeng completely stunned on
This
the
hell
spot.
of blood was something that all
They
weapon
looked at Yun
refiners,
Kai as if she was an
cultivators,
idiot.
and even body
It
cultivators
was as if
did
they
not
did
want
not
to
expect
encounter.
that a smart Yun Kai would
It was
ask
because
such
of
a
its
stupid
tyrannical,
question.
evil, and plundering
Oh,
power that no one could
we
tolerate.
didn't plan to bring her along.
Even so, it was
Since she
enough
didn't
to prove
follow
that the
us,
weapon
that's
used to
great.
pass the tribulation was
We can
beyond the
finally
immortal
have some
state.
peace, isn't it?
Otherwise, it would not be able
that's
to
right.
summon
summoned such a lightning tribulation?
That good girl is simply a follower.
At the same time,
a dog-skin
how
plaster.
could some greedy people not be tempted
Once
by
she
such a
sticks to
treasure? You can't get rid of her even if you want
all
to.
the cultivators who came from all directions within a radius of 1,000 feet all looked at the purple Qilin sword in Lin Rei's hand.
Chapter 752.
Their eyes were filled with greed and viciousness.
At this moment, everyone thought that getting rid of Hua Yui
everyone
was
was
the right
tempted by
decision.
greed.
After
They
all,
wanted to get the
she was not
sword.
one of them.
At the same
and it would
time,
be inappropriate
the rogue
for them to do some
cultivators,
secret
demonic
things with her
cultivators,
around. Body cultivators,
All right, let's
demons,
eat and leave.
And even the dwarves who prided
After
themselves
saying
on
that,
refining
everyone
weapons were
started
all
eating.
tempted by the sword.
The meal was finished
No matter
in less
who
than
got
10
the sword,
minutes. It would not take long
Looking
for
at
them
them,
to be able
Lin
to
Ray
ignore the
stood up
top
and
supreme
said,
gods
"Let's
in the
go."
realm of the gods.
We can't stay
They
here for
wanted it
long
because they had just become the
After
rulers of
saying
this
that,
realm. He went downstairs
At
and
the
walked
same
towards
time,
the western
Lin
city
Ray
gate
did not
without
expect
waiting
that
for
the
them.
supreme grade sacred weapon
Right
he
at this
made would
moment,
cause such a
Wuxia,
consequence.
who understood Linley's
At the same
intentions,
time,
hurriedly
he was
followed
proud of his
behind him.
crafting skills.
After persuading
At
the
the
payment
same
counter
time,
downstairs,
he fantasized
he didn't
in his
say
heart.
anything.
Tisk
Just took
if
out
everyone in the
10,000
Xuanzong
mid-grade
sect were to
divine
use
crystals,
this kind of
toss
divine
them
weapon,
to the counter,
the power
and
would be
left.
unimaginable. He
Of
did not
course,
care if he
this
had
was
given
only
too
Lin
much.
Ray's fantasy.
At this moment,
After all,
he was not
it
in
would
the
take
mood
such
to
a
do
long
so.
time to refine a single
Lin
sword.
Ray was already nowhere to be
If
seen.
30 or 40,000 people
At the
were to
exit
use
of the
such a
storm
divine
house,
weapon,
Chu
it would
Ci
take hundreds or
circulated his
thousands of
cultivation
years to
and used
refine.
his lightning-fast footwork.
He couldn't afford such a
He
price.
turned into a ray
nor
of
did
light
he want
and
to bear it.
disappeared on the path to the
After
western
all,
city gate.
The current sect master
At
of
this
the
moment,
Xuanzong sect
Lin
was
Ray
in.
had already arrived at the western city gate with Xia
Coming
Feng
back
and
to
Yun
his
Kai
senses,
by his side.
Lin Ray could sense the vicious
Why
and
isn't he
greedy
here yet?
gazes from thousands of feet
He
away.
stopped and turned around.
His
Looking in the
originally
direction he
smiling
had come
face
from.
suddenly turned cold.
He was speechless.
He had been happy that he
At
had
this
managed
moment,
to forge such
Xia
a weapon,
Feng also
but now
frowned at Lin
there were
Ray's
these
words,
people who didn't
but
want
her
to play
words
and
were
came
gentle
to
and
cause
tactful.
trouble. Maybe he was delayed by
Looking
something.
at them,
He glanced at
I'm
Xia
sure he'll
Feng
be
in the
back
sky.
soon.
Suddenly,
Let's wait a little
a murderous
longer.
aura rushed out and soared into
Swoosh.
the sky.
Suddenly,
a ray of light
this
appeared in
moment,
front of
he was
everyone's
angry.
eyes and rushed towards them.
There was a legend in the profound
this
sky
moment,
world that
everyone's
when Lin Ray
faces
was
were
angry,
filled with joy,
blood would dye
and they
thousands of
immediately
miles.
turned and walked out of the city.
When the demon god appeared,
Swoosh,
bones would
huff,
dry up for
huff.
thousands of years.
We finally caught up.
Of course,
Lin Ray naturally
finally,
knew
the
about
moment
these
Lin
rumors,
Ray and the
but he
others
didn't
stepped
want
out
to.
of the city gate.
If
Chu
it weren't
Ci
for those who
finally
didn't
caught
want
up
to
with
play
them.
and challenged him,
He was
causing
panting
the deaths
heavily,
of his wives
as if
and
he was
children,
very tired.
he wouldn't have done that. Looking at Chu
Now,
Ci behind
Lin
him,
Ray naturally
Lin Ray
wouldn't
became
be so
excited and
impulsive.
teased him.
Ha,
After
your cultivation
every
is still
time
not
he
enough.
killed someone who had no enmity
Moreover,
with him,
your
it would
body
be his
is
own
probably
karma
not
in
as
the
strong
end.
as my disciples.
He had to pay it back, and it was very troublesome.
Chu Ci fell silent
All of
with
you
an awkward
don't
expression.
enter within a radius of 300
At this
meters.
time,
Lin Ray was also
keep your
silent.
greedy hearts in check.
Speaking of which,
Otherwise,
he hadn't seen
I
them
can't
for a long
guarantee
time.
what will happen.
Speaking
At
of
this
which,
moment,
he was
Lin
really
Ray was
incompetent
extremely
as a
mischievous,
master, and he had an amused
It had been at
expression
least a
as
few
he thousand
spoke.
years since he had taken
Of
them in
course,
as his
he
disciples.
knew that his words were very
The
inappropriate.
time he had spent by their side,
Those people
teaching
wouldn't
them
stop.
cultivation methods,
Instead,
battle tactics,
they would
and
become
other
more
similar
active.
things was not long at all.
Indeed,
The moment
that
Lin
was
Ray
especially
finished
true
speaking,
considering
a late
that they had
god
all
emperor
come
who
from
hadn't
the
left
profound
stood
heaven
out and
continent.
replied to Lin Ray with a
They
cold
didn't have
murderous
any
aura.
relatives
Blind
here.
man, I'll also give
Thinking
you a
of
chance.
this,
Lin Ray's heart
hand
suddenly
over the
began
sword
to
in
ache.
your hand. Sigh.
Otherwise, I can't
I wonder
guarantee
how
that
they
I
are
won't do
doing.
anything overboard.
Have their cultivations
That's
improved?
right.
Have
Look
they
at
been
yourself.
bullied?
You've
How are they
already
doing in
become
the
a blind
sect?
man, yet you
All
still
of
dare
these
to jump
questions
out.
popped up one after another.
Don't lose your sword and lose your life for nothing. You'd better obediently hand over the sword in
His
your
originally
hand.
excited mood disappeared
Otherwise,
at this moment,
and it was
I'll let
replaced
you
by
die
endless
without a
sadness
complete
and
corpse.
longing.
Of
At this
course,
moment,
he
it was
knew
even
that
worse
this would
than
be
what
futile.
Lin Ray had expected.
Therefore,
He
everyone
forcefully
pointed at
suppressed
his
this
nose
feeling
and
in his
scolded
heart.
him for being blind.
After all, before
Suddenly,
he could return
Lin
to their
Ray's
side
smiling
and teach them
face
cultivation
froze.
methods and battle tactics
If the people of the
quietly,
Xuanzong
he had to
sect
have
were
the
here
ability
and
to
saw
conquer
Lin
this
Ray's
world.
current appearance.
They would
Thinking of
definitely
this,
tremble
Lin
with
Ray
fear.
became even more determined.
Without saying anything,
His
they would
path was not
immediately run
wrong.
away.
Furthermore,
This was because
no
they
matter
knew
how
that
great the
Linley had
dangers and
definitely been
obstacles ahead of
enraged
him
by
were,
that look.
he would overcome them with
Hong
determination.
Long, Kacha,
Just
right
like
now,
this,
just
the
as
group
Linley
exited
was
the
about to
city gate
explode
and flew
with
towards
rage,
the west.
an enormous, blood-colored
After 3
dragon that
days
was as
and
thick
3
as
nights,
Linley's waist
they
suddenly
finally
arrived
arrived
at
at
the
the
entrance of the Sky Mountain Range on the evening of the demonic phoenix.
Ao,
Feeling
at
the
this
strangeness in the
moment
air,
Lin Ray
and the others
smiled.
arrived at the entrance of the
Then,
Sky Mountain
he
Range.
circulated his
A series of
cultivation and
earth-shattering
disappeared
roars
from the
of
eyes
beasts
of the
came from the
crowd.
mountain range.
This,
However, from the
Where did he
sound,
go?
everyone could feel that
At
these
this
roaring
moment,
beasts
Lin
were not a
Ray's
threat to them
disappearance
at all.
was too strange.
Instead,
Even
they
the
would
late
become
god
food
emperor
to
was
satisfy
stunned.
their cravings. His gaze and spiritual
all,
sense were all activated.
at their level,
trying to
they
search
no
for the
longer
figure of
needed
the
to
blind
consume
man who
food
had
to
disappeared
improve
their cultivation. But none
of
the
this
reason
was what
why
he
they
had
ate
expected.
was because of their cravings
Before
and
he
enjoyment.
could find the figure of the man.
After all,
and soft
eating
sword
was
was
already
already
pressed
pressed
against
against
his
joyful
throat.
thing.
At
They
this
would not
moment,
miss this
the soft
opportunity.
sword emitted a bit of cold
Looking
light,
at the
but
sky
this
mountain
cold
range,
intent was
Lin
comparable to
raised
that of
eyes
10,000
glowed with
years
golden
old
light.
ice. A streak of crystal-clear liquid
At this
flowed out
moment,
from the
the
corner
body
of his
of that
mouth
late-stage
uncontrollably.
god emperor seemed to have been
He,
immobilized by the
fresh
body
beast
fixing
meat,
technique,
I
causing him
really
to be
want to
rooted
have
to
one
the
now.
ground.
At
His
this
face
moment,
was pale,
Xia
and his
foamed,
eyes
and the
were
others
filled with
rolled
fear
their
and
eyes
hesitation.
were filled with helplessness after
His
hearing
forehead
Lin
was
Rei's
covered in
words,
cold sweat,
which finally
looking at the
flowed
young
down
master
his
that he had
cheeks.
acknowledged.
Chu
At this
Xiai let out
moment,
a long
he felt the
sigh.
killing intent behind him,
However,
and the soft
he
sword
had to
emitting
admit that
endless
after
sword
hearing
chi,
Lin Rei's words,
He was unnaturally convinced and looked as though he wanted to give it a try. As before. Let's go. You, if you want to eat, I'll let you have your fill inside. What did you say just now? At this moment, behind the man was after seeing how hungry the two of them were. His original spot. Her body turned into a gust of wind and Ray was standing behind an eye. His violet Qilin sword was pressed against the man's throat. Seeing Xia Feng's red blood stain was very eye-catching. Ray's heart was moved and he wanted to compete with her. You're going to catch up. If one of you is last, then this little one has eyes but fails to recognize but you'll have to prepare the barbecue later. Please. Whoosh. His life was in the hands of others. I didn't give the two of them a chance to react and disappeared on the spot just like Xia Feng. It was better than losing his life. At this moment, it could be said that Linli was moving at full speed. Looking at the man, for the sake an amused smile appeared on Linli's face. Sigh. With a disdainful look, seeing the two of them disappear. Earlier, this sovereign had already said that if you retreated, everything would be fine. No matter what, I'm the one who will suffer in the end. Then what should we do? Looking at her future troubles, Yun Kai burst anyone who steps within 300 meters. She agreed with Chu Si's words very much. Chu Si was very obedient. The man was shocked. Okay, he did not expect this blind man to be so decisive. Don't worry, I'm very merciful. Fiance's smile. Chu Si chuckled and pulled her hand. No, he chased after Lin Ray and Xia Feng's aura. No matter how the man struggled, energy he could not get away from Lin Ray's palm. Whoosh. Whoosh. At this moment, a strange sound rang out, resounding in everyone's light flashed. They saw the two of them were almost on the God Palace, but the red light was slightly faster. His Dantian and God Palace were destroyed. Still the difference in strength. The man's cultivation of a late God Emperor level was gone. I'm sure I wouldn't be any weaker than her. He was crippled. At this moment, Lin Ray's heart was filled with feeling the pain coming from his Dantian, who was ahead faster than him. He felt his entire cultivation going down the drain. At the same time, because of this matter, Lin Ray used this matter to encourage himself to work hard and surpass Xia Feng as soon as possible. A strand of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Kid. His face turned pale, and he felt powerless. Xia Feng, who was ahead faster than Lin Ray, and he sat on the ground. Feeling Lin Ray's aura behind her, his face was filled with an aura looked back at him with a face stared at Lin Ray angrily, as if he wanted nothing more than to skin Lin Ray alive and tear out his tendons. I believe that the Reverend God Realm is no longer a threat. Everyone was startled. There. At this moment, I'm still not as fast as you. To provoke the other party were all stunned. Hearing Xia Feng's words, Lin Ray said truthfully. Their faces were filled with shock and fear. Words. Cold sweat started forming on their foreheads. The Reverend God Realm. At this moment, no one dared to take another step forward. That his cultivation was definitely not weaker than the Reverend God Realm. That late God Emperor had to pay. At the very least, he was not afraid of the late Reverend God Realm. However, they could feel the deep fear of death that he could defeat the perfected Reverend God Realm experts. It's a pity that there was no medicine for regret in this world. He would not die in the hands of a perfected Reverend God mercilessly like that man. He believed that there were not many people like him in the divine world. At this moment when everyone was stunned, like him were as rare as phoenix to the descent of a sage could be heard. After some time, the moment the heaven blood more like they were exchanging pointers finally stopped. A web of cracks appeared. At this moment, in less than 2 of them did not know where they were, cracks let alone where they were on the heaven blood dragon. Looking at the surrounding geography, blood dragon Lin Ray smiled helplessly. It finally exploded and dissipated from the world. Leave the two of them behind. This scene stunned everyone on the ground. Aside from Chu Si, Xia Feng did not give Lin Ray any face and familiar with the demonic phoenix. They are middle-stage God Realm cultivators. This was because they knew the demonic phoenix such a true power long ago. They might as well die. Thus, is this still the power of a human? That is a lightning tribulation sent down by Tendo. However, yet it was easily destroyed by such a beautiful move. If they couldn't even pass such a small test, this person's realm, then it could only mean that they weren't strong enough. These questions appeared in everyone's mind. There was nothing he could do. Other than Lin Ray's moment, no one was Phoenix suggested, alright, even Zhuge get a demonic Zhuge Minua's group were the same. Since they haven't come yet, they knew how powerful Linli was. Alright, they knew how powerful Linli immediately agreed, then disappeared. However, they didn't expect the demonic woman by Linli's side would be so fierce as well. It sat down where even though she had a beautiful face and a curvaceous body, it was a coincidence or not, resist. But at this moment, the scenery around them was very beautiful. How could they not be shocked? Although it was at this moment, the surroundings were bright as demonic phoenix in the air. Dong! He let out a helpless laugh. I knew it would be so pretentious. A loud sound was heard, accompanied by such a big commotion. When the dust dissipated, it be better to just a demonic beast that looked like an elephant but had fangs appeared. He did not pay too much attention to this matter. And beside the demonic beast, what he wanted to do was to punish these disobedient pests on the ground. Although he could not get rid of all of them, he had to at least make an example out of them. She had a bad feeling in her heart. It would be a waste of time for him to take action and sacrifice his own blood. I was the one who made these monstrous beasts. Looking at the man who was paralyzed in front of anything you made. Lin Ray's cold voice rang in his ears. In your next life, rubbed his hands remember together, to be a good person. Chuckle on his face. Don't do this again. Demonic Phoenix's face There are some people you can't afford to offend. Stunned. Pissed. When she regained her senses, Linley's Xiafeng looked at Lin Ray with disdain. Moving the flexible sword, it was as if she was saying, why is a man slowly die in despair and coldness? Lin Ray chose to ignore Xiafeng's although the man's cultivation of the god emperor he turned around and did not look at her. His vitality was still very strong. He went to the stream and sat down cross-legged. Linley raised his head and locked his divine sense onto the others. Xiafeng was helpless. Although his eyes were already blind, in the end, when she could only choose to compromise, they couldn't help but instinctively looking at the mountain-sized hand in front of her. It's your turn. Xiafeng smiled bitterly. The hunting game has begun. Her fist turned into a palm. Oh no! And then with a hand knife, she began to dissolve the mountain-sized hand. The moment everyone heard Lin Ray's voice, the speed was very fast. Their expressions changed. It was like they did not care about anything else. Water. They did not care about their disciples who had been sitting in the stream but had been paying attention to Xiafeng with his divine sense. They did not care about them. Was shocked. They did not have the time or the experience to do so. At this moment, like that, Lin Ray was not chasing and killing began the moment Lin Ray made his Xiafeng's technique of absorbing the amputation. At this moment, this sort of technique no one was in the mood to admire the scene of Xiafeng crushing the blood dragon in the air. He could tell that there was something profound about this technique. Lin Ray appeared in front of another person in a flash. Bang! He stared at him with his consciousness and smiled evilly. Special amputation technique. The other person's hair stood on demonic beast was easily disintegrated. No, pest. Whoosh! He didn't even let out a scream. Clatter! It was a clean, crisp move. The small stream in front of Linley suddenly began crushing his opponent's dantian and his own head. The small stream, which had been so clear that the bottom of the stream from his opponent's finger, now slowly began to turn the other person, as though it was a river of blood. In this period of time, he only spent one's hair stand on rid of a powerful and one's hair stand on a region. Damn, this method of killing people like cutting vegetables stunned Zhuge He because it happened was watching so from a distance. Lin Ray did not have time to react. His heart skipped a beat. At this moment, Lin Ray's body was wet, the two of them were convinced and he was not by lucky enough to escape the erosion of the stream. Gotcha. I didn't mean it. Gotcha. In the air, Xiafeng's speed became faster and faster. Had already thought of what Lin Ray wanted to say, so she had already prepared a response. She pointed to the sky and roared, I've given you face. At this moment, Lin Ray's words were abruptly choked back. Phoenix cried. He did not know what to say. Xiafeng looked impatient. As the saying goes, one does casually made a hand seal. Looking at Xiafeng smiling and dozens of feet long appeared and rushed originally full of anger, bloody hell. Felt very weak like a deflated balloon. Crack. Xiafeng's attack was also sensed by the bloody hell in the air. He had no choice but to leave the stream. A terrifying pressure after Xiafeng's accompanied by a shocking blood dragon which was originally emitting a fire phoenix, was now filled with a pungent smell of blood. When a dragon and a phoenix fought, at least you know one of them was bound to be injured. The two extremely powerful attacks collided in an instant. Seeing Lin Ray leave, Xiafeng snorted, who had been watching the pill concocting this entire spiritual chi was completely to hold the demonic beast in the air. In his heart, he knew that the blood dragon which had just emerged from the hell out of Xiafeng's was not something he could fight back against. As if it had a spirit, it directly surrounded the giant demonic beast and began to roast it from the outside. Perhaps there was a 75% chance of success. Not bad. At the same time, at this moment, he once again examined Xiafeng, who had retreated to the side. Although he knew that Xiafeng's cultivation was in the Saint realm and went back to cultivate, Xiafeng did not indicate what level she was in the Saint realm. After an unknown period of time, when he looked behind him, only the smell of meat drifted in the air from before was now gone. At this time, two streamers cut across the sky and finally stopped in front of Xiafeng was enough. The streamers dispersed, and a man and a woman appeared and put him away, their faces full of smiles. Then, at this moment, suddenly rose the two of them were not strangers. Anyone who comes within 300 meters of me will be killed without mercy. Seeing that it was the two of them, the evil phoenix greeted them indifferently. Chapter 745. Then, it returned to focusing on roasting the meat. No one dared to refuse or take a step forward. Looking at Xiafeng, Lin Ray's strength respectfully greeted her and then walked toward Lin Ray's place. If someone were to enter at this moment, but not very quickly, they would either think that they were stronger than Lin Ray or tiptoed as if they were afraid of trampling the flowers under their feet and came to Lin Ray's reactions. A hint of a smile appeared on Linley's face. Then, he turned around and walked towards Zhuge He, who was cultivating. Heard the call from the outside. His hand was already filled with storage rings. Lin Ray opened his eyes and looked at the two from earlier. Then, he smiled. All trash. How was it? Looking at his level on the surface of the rings, smooth? Lin Ray was full of disdain. It was okay. He did not use these things when he was in the immortal world. Blind and I killed it. Of course, I
although
originally
he said
wanted
that
to bring it back
it was
for
inevitable
roasting,
that there would be
but I
some
didn't
loopholes
expect
in the rings.
Chu Ci
However,
said as she
he
glanced
did not
at
look at them
Xiafeng,
now.
who was roasting meat in the
Instead,
distance.
he put
and
them
then
all
stopped
in the
talking.
system.
It's
Moreover,
okay. When Xiafeng killed
the
people,
extra as a
she
treat.
also got some storage rings.
At this moment,
Lin Rei
hearing
put them
this,
all together.
Chu Ci's eyes were full of doubts.
Taoist Lin Rei is
Yes.
indeed domineering and
In
powerful.
response to Chu Ci's doubts,
At this
Lin
moment,
Rei raised his head and two golden
who was like
rays
the god of
instantly
death,
rushed out of his
standing
eyes.
in front of him.
It was as if he could
immediately
see
said
through the
respectfully
ages and looked into the distance.
In his words, he did not
Friend,
dare to show
you've been
any
following
disrespect.
us all the way.
After the
Isn't
battle
it time
just
to come
now,
out?
he had completely
We have
divided
roasted
himself
meat,
and Lin
and you
Rei
have
into
wine.
two different people. Wine with meat
He
is
was at
perfect,
the bottom,
isn't it?
while
Lin Rei was at the top. He was an existence that could not be reached. He was not. Taoist Zhuge.
Chapter
You must be
753.
joking. They are
At
all
this
small
moment,
fries.
everyone understood what Lin
If you were
Rei
in their
was saying
place,
and looked
you would
towards
probably
the
do better
direction
than
he was
me.
looking at.
Knowing what
At this
Zhuge Ho
moment,
meant,
everyone
Lin Rei
stopped being
quickly greeted
relaxed
him.
and tensed up.
They were
Zhuge
on
Ho
high alert.
smiled and didn't say anything else.
Sigh.
However,
Under everyone's
Zhuge
gaze,
Mingyue's
a
gaze
beautiful
towards
lady
Lin Li
came
was
out
filled
from the
with
darkness.
admiration, envy,
Her
and a
speed
sense
was
of
not very
admiration that
fast.
she shouldn't have.
After
Looking
all,
at the beautiful
such a
lady,
powerful
Chu
existence
Ci
would be a
frowned and
hero
was
in
shocked.
every woman's heart.
Isn't this the lady boss of
Coincidentally,
Storm House,
Lin Rei
a
met the
hierarch
standard of a
expert?
hero in Zhuge Mingyue's
At this
heart.
moment, other than Lin Rei
Oh,
and
right.
Xiafeng, Chu Ci
At this
and
moment,
Chu Ci
Lin
were
Rei
extremely
suddenly thought of
nervous.
something and hurriedly handed
They
the
were
purple
nothing in
Qilin
front of
sword
a
to Zhuge
hierarch,
Ho,
saying,
"How did
"This
you
sword
find
is
me?"
called the purple Qilin
The
sword."
jade-faced Rakshasa
The
stared
name
at
of the
Lin Li,
sword
a
naturally
look of
appeared
surprise
when it
on
was
her
forged.
face.
It is
She didn't
truly
understand.
blessed by the heavens.
She felt as though
This,
she hadn't made
although
any
he had
mistakes
just
at all,
arrived at this
and the
moment,
difference in
he
power between the
hesitated
two
after
of them
seeing
was
the
simply
might of the
too
sword.
great. There were so
TSK.
many people who wanted to snatch
Hearing
it
her
from him
question,
earlier.
Lin Rei chuckled and said,
If he were to put
"It's
it away
easy
now,
if you want to know.
it would probably cause others
Bring
to
me the
kill him
best
for
wine
it."
in Stormhouse and I'll
Although
tell
he
you.
was a member of the Milk Sword
Of course,
Sect,
you
but
have no choice.
There might be some people who were blinded
he
by
spoke,
greed and
a
wanted
wave
to rob
of
him.
killing intent surged
Perhaps
out
some
towards the
sects would be
jade-faced
jealous
Rakshasa
and then kill him to steal the treasure.
At this moment, Lin Li
They
was
might
no
even
longer as
destroy the
gentle as
corpse
before.
and destroy the evidence.
The current him was like the
Father,
god of death
I,
descending upon the
although
world.
Zhuge Ho thought so,
There seemed
Zhuge
to be
Mingyue
no
didn't
life
think so.
left in the surroundings.
After all,
Because from the
to play
moment you
with such a
started
powerful
following us,
weapon,
your life no longer
Moreover,
belongs to you.
the flexible sword was
So,
very beautiful.
you have no choice.
Take it.
Oh.
Lin Rei
The
knew what
jade-faced
Zhuge
Rakshasa
Ho was
frowned
thinking
and
had a bad premonition.
She
He
had not had
smiled
this
and said,
feeling since
"This
she
sword
stepped
was
into the
specially
Emperor
forged
God
according
realm.
to your standards.
She did not expect
If
it
you
to
don't
happen
take
today.
it, I won't use it."
Moreover,
My
it was on
wives
such
won't
a
use
young
the
man
software
whose
either.
cultivation was one
In
level
the
lower
end,
than hers.
the purple Qilin will be covered
This
in
made her
dust.
very puzzled.
Wouldn't that be a pity?
Looking at her puzzled expression,
Your
Lin Rei
wives.
smiled and pointed at her feet.
Hearing Lin Rei's words,
He said confidently,
Zhuge Mingyue's
"You can
eyes
try."
dimmed and were filled with
Let's
disappointment.
see if your hierarch realm is stronger,
Sigh.
or if my hierarch realm
Sensing
killing
the meaning
formation
in
is
Zhuge
stronger.
Mingyue's eyes, Lin
Of
Rei
course,
sighed and said,
I am very
"Yes,
confident in
my
my killing
wives don't use
formation.
flexible swords.
But if you don't believe me,
So,
I can
take
be
it."
kind and demonstrate it to
With
you.
that, he didn't wait
Of
for
course,
Zhuge Ho to
if
speak
that's
and
the
stuck
case,
the sword
your
into
life,
his hands.
I will. After saying
Then
that,
he turned
Lin
around
Rei
and
shrugged
faced
the crowd
indifferently.
hundreds of feet away.
He looked very
He
cold-blooded.
said, "All of you, I
"What,
give this
you?"
sword to the
When
sword
the jade-faced
Sect Zhuge
Rakshasa
Ho
heard these words and
This,
combined them with Lin Rei's calmness
Zhuge
and
Ho was
performance,
shocked.
he continuously released
didn't
his divine
expect Lin
sense
Rei
to
to do
investigate
this.
the area beneath his feet.
However,
hearing
as
Lin
the
Rei's
saying
next
goes,
words, it is
Zhuge
better to
Ho
believe
lowered
than
his
not.
head in shame.
If it is true,
The sword is
then
in Zhuge
he had
Ho's
heard of an
hands.
honorable array master
I'm
before.
different.
Others
Moreover,
can't have
there
it,
was an
not
honorable
even a
array
supreme
master in
god.
the god realm.
If I find out,
Moreover,
no matter what
he was an
sect you
old
are
man,
from, whether it's the Danzong
even if a
sect or
peak
the
honorable
Rain
realm
sect,
cultivator
as long
entered
as
the
you try to
killing
steal
array,
it,
I'll
even if they
destroy
did
your
not
sect
die
with
in the
everything
end,
I have.
even if they managed to
With
escape
that,
from the array,
Lin Li turned,
they would not
a
be able to
smile on
fight
his
anymore.
face.
At
All
that
right,
time,
now you
the
can
only
use it
outcome
boldly.
would be death.
In the future,
Although she
if
did
anyone
not know
tries
if
to
the
steal
venerable
it from
great
you and I
array
find
formation
out,
was real,
I'll wipe out their
but
entire
ever
sect
since
as
she
a
came
warning.
here, the palpitations
Hearing
in her
this,
heart had become
Zhuge Ho
more and more
sighed in
intense.
relief. He immediately thanked Lin Rei. "Thank you, Taoist Lin Rei. Not only did
She
I let
couldn't
you
help
forge
but
a
have a
supreme great
preconceived
artifact
notion
for
and
me,
believe that
but
this
I
matter
also
was
let you
true.
protect me."
At this
It's
moment,
really,
under
all
the
right,
investigation
that's
of her
enough.
divine sense, she
Lin
saw
Rei
Ray
very
knew what
terrifying
Zhuge He
energy
wanted
contained
to say.
under her feet.
He didn't wait for
Although
Zhuge
she was
He
now
to
in a
finish
state
and
of deep
interrupted
sleep,
him.
she
She
could
could
feel
feel
that
that
if
if
this energy was activated,
I can go into
she would
seclusion
undoubtedly
with
die.
peace of mind. Seeing this,
At this moment,
the jade-faced
Lin Ray
Rakshasa
couldn't
could
wait
not
to go
help
into
but look at
seclusion
Lin Ray in
immediately.
shock. That
Her
way,
expression
he
was
wouldn't
filled
need
with
to
shock
use his
and
divine
curiosity
sense
at
to
the same
replace his
time.
eyes when he exited seclusion.
She was shocked that she could meet
He
such a
wouldn't need
young
to
array
wait
master
until he
here.
reached a certain level of cultivation.
She was even more
before his
shocked
eyes
that
could
this
recover.
young man could possess the
Oh,
strength of an honorable array
Taoist
formation
Lin
at
Ray
such a
wants
young
to go
age.
into seclusion.
She could not
Zhuge
help
He
but be
was
curious.
shocked. She was an
very
eventful
curious
time
about
now.
what kind of power could nurture him to such
the
an
burial
extent.
ground was about to appear.
How about it?
It was
Do you
really
want to drink and
inappropriate
eat
to go
meat
into
and have a
seclusion
long
now.
talk? Or do you want to break the
Yes,
array
what's
over there
wrong?
while we sit here and eat meat and
Lin
watch?
Ray was puzzled.
At this moment,
while
nothing.
the jade-faced Rakshasa was shocked
I just wanted
and curious.
to say that the ancient
Lin
corpse
Ray's
burial
words entered her
ground will
ears.
open 22 years later.
Immediately, her
At
heart
that
trembled
time,
and she
many
made her
people will
choice.
go there to seek opportunities.
All right,
I will provide the wine
if you go
and
into
you provide
seclusion
the meat.
now,
I'm afraid,
in
great.
his memory,
Lin Ray
emperors
seemed to have
usually went
expected
into
this
seclusion
result.
for a few hundred years.
Then, with a wave of his hand,
the honorable
the
array
ancient corpse
formation
burial
hidden under
ground
the
is
jade-faced
opening.
Rakshas's feet
Lin
instantly
Ray was very
disappeared without a
surprised
trace.
about the ancient corpse burial
The
ground.
jade-faced Rakshasa, who had
After
been
all,
sensing the
his
array
next
on the
destination
ground,
was the
immediately
ancient corpse
curled her
burial
lips into
ground.
an enchanting smile when
Now,
she sensed the
it
array
was too
disappear.
coincidental. Then,
The
she walked
coincidence
towards
made Lin Ray a
Xiafeng,
little
who was
scared.
barbecuing meat.
After he came here,
Lin Ray
he had
also
never heard
stopped
of such
such
a
a
dangerous
dangerous
to
place.
continue cultivating.
There was actually
Then,
an opportunity.
he brought the two of them over to
Of course,
Xiafeng.
he wouldn't say that he wanted to go
come
to the
at this
ancient
moment.
corpse burial ground.
Xiafeng looked at the jade-faced Rakshasa with an enchanting
After
smile
all,
and spoke
if the
gently.
ancient corpse burial ground was going to open, they would
Hearing the
probably
evil
go
phoenix's
too.
question,
The
if he
jade-faced
said,
Rakshasa
it
was
would
stunned on
probably
the
cause
spot,
a lot of trouble.
looking confused. He wouldn't get involved in this
she was
kind
the
of
first to
business.
discover your existence.
Yes, I don't know why.
As for me,
but the
when I
ancient
exited
corpse
the gates
burial
of
ground
levitating
has been
city,
moving in
I
and out
suddenly
during this
sensed a pair
period
of
of time.
eyes staring at me from behind.
It seems like the corpse king
That's
has
why I
appeared.
paid attention to you.
Many people are very
Lin
jealous
Li,
of the
having
corpse king's
arrived,
unique corpse
spoke out.
court.
What?
Moreover, those who entered
The
the ancient
jade-faced
corpse
Rakshasa
burial
looked
ground
at
have never come
Xiafeng
in horror when she heard Lin
One
Ray's
can imagine
words.
how dangerous it is inside.
Originally, she thought that
At the
Lin
same
Ray was
time,
the only one
danger
who had
and
discovered
opportunity
her.
coexist.
She did not expect that
The
the
ancient
woman who was
corpse burial
barbecuing
ground
meat
is
would be
the
the
first
first
to
that has never
discover
been
her.
explored. How could she
There
not
are
be
countless
shocked?
divine medicines inside.
Especially when she realized that this
Therefore,
meant that the woman
various
in red
sects will take the
cultivation was
opportunity
probably
to search
already.
for corpse
The
cores and
jade-faced
plunder it.
Rakshasa did not dare to
Oh.
think further.
At this time,
Because if she
Lin
thought
Ray
further,
heard Zhuge
she would be
He's
in the
words
sage
and
state.
immediately frowned.
At this moment,
Now,
the jade-faced
he had to get the
Rakshasas
corpse
were
restless
faster
heart
than
calmed
those
down.
people.
Then,
Otherwise,
she sat
his
on the
life
rock
would
of
be in
obediently
danger and did not dare to make
Gotcha.
any moves. However, just when
Hee
Lin
hee,
Ray
there's
was
no
in a
need to
daze
be
and
so
thinking,
restrained.
thunder roared in the sky.
As long as you're not harmful
He saw a
to us.
blood dragon instantly coming out of the thunder clouds and descending towards Xiafeng. This sentence
At
had
this
a deep
moment,
meaning,
Zhuge
and it could
He
be
saw it.
understood as two meanings. His face turned pale and his
First,
whole body
you can do
couldn't
whatever
help but
you
tremble,
want.
and there's no need to
At
be
this
reserved.
moment,
Not only Zhuge He,
Second,
but
if
even
you dare
Lin
to
Ray
have
was
any
a little
improper
shocked.
thoughts,
Then you'll be in
perhaps
so much
even
pain
he would
that
find
you'll
it
wish you were
difficult
dead.
to
withstand this lightning
The
tribulation.
jade-faced Rakshasa understood
Of course,
the underlying
if he
meaning.
wanted to withstand it,
She
he would
nodded
have to pay a
heavily and
painful
replied to
price.
Xiafeng respectfully.
However,
yes,
Xiafeng
yes,
stood in the
yes.
sky with a calm face
Definitely
as if nothing
not.
had happened.
Definitely not.
It was as if she
That's
didn't care
good.
about the existence of the
With
red
that,
dragon. Xiafeng placed the roasted beast meat in front of
Willful.
everyone. Too damn willful.
Then,
She tore off
this
a
was
piece
the only
and handed
thing
it to
Lin
the
Ray could
jade-faced
think of.
Rakshasa.
Come,
In the sky,
have a taste of my
Xiafeng,
cooking.
who was standing in the
Ah,
sky,
thank you,
raised her head
thank you,
slightly and
Senior.
looked at the blood dragon that
The
was coming
jade-faced
towards her.
Rakshasa was so flattered
The corners
that she
of her
hurriedly
mouth curled
received it
up
with
into a
both hands.
disdainful smile. She looked very
If this
respectful
scene were to
and
be
did not
seen by
dare to
others,
make any
they would
mistakes.
probably be scared silly.
Hee hee. Lin Ray
Oh,
and the
whoa.
other two
The
smiled
dragon's
at this
roar
scene.
reverberated throughout the nine
They were
heavens
full
and
of
10
admiration,
earths.
as if it wanted to break through
After
the heavens
knowing
and
that the
earth.
jade-faced Rakshasa could
Humph,
not cause
and
any trouble,
how dare
she
you be
relaxed
so
her
arrogant
vigilance.
in front of me.
Then,
What
she
are you
came to
waiting
the
for?
roasted meat, tore off a
Back
piece,
off,
and began to chew on
Looking
it.
at the blood dragon,
Chu
Xiai
Xiafeng
did not
frowned.
pay any attention to this.
The pressure of the true phoenix
Since something
rushed
had
out
happened,
and formed an
the taller
invisible
one would
phoenix.
keep an eye on it. Instantly,
Come,
it
as
rushed
the boss
towards
of
the blood
Stonehouse.
dragon. I believe you should have a
Its
lot of
speed
good
was
wine
so
on you.
fast
That even the reincarnation of the
hee hee.
Kuan Peng might not be able to
The
reach it.
jade-faced Rakshasa smiled
phoenix
awkwardly
spread its
and
wings
nodded.
and appeared in front of the
It's
blood
all
dragon
right.
in an instant. Although it's not
Then,
much,
without
but with
hesitation,
that,
a dozen
crashed
jars
into
of
the
wine
blood appeared
appeared
on
on
the empty ground in the blink of an eye.
Kacha.
At
The
this
fragrance
moment,
of the
in
wine
everyone's
permeated the
eyes,
air
the
and
blood
refreshed the
dragon
mind.
collapsed for no reason.
Phew, good wine.
However, in Lin Ray's
Smelling
eyes,
the applause
it was
in the
different.
air.
Lin Ray took a
After
deep
all,
breath and
his
exhaled.
spiritual
energy and consciousness
He could not
were
help but
incomparable to
praise.
those in the realm of the gods. This wine is called the 100-fruit wine. He could
It is
clearly
brewed
feel
from
the
100
presence
kinds
of
of
phoenix
spirit
formed
fruits.
from the pressure of the true phoenix.
Every drop is very precious.
Moreover,
finally
the
over.
fruits used to brew the 100
The last
fruit wine
tribulation
are
lightning
priceless.
was destroyed by CF.
They are very valuable.
Instantly, the
Gulp,
blood-red
gulp.
thunderclouds
Just
that
as the
covered the
jade-faced
sky above
Rakshasa
Jade
was
City
explaining the
completely
origin of the
dissipated.
wine in front of her, she
As the
suddenly
saying
heard
goes,
a strange sound.
the clouds parted to reveal the
She
blue
turned her
sky.
head and saw Lin Ray
At this
gulping down a
moment,
jar
the
of 100
thunderclouds
fruit wine.
dissipated and the heavens
He
and
looked
earth
very
returned to
forthright,
normal. But the jade-faced Rakshasa
Whoosh!
felt very
In midair,
pained when she
the
saw
demonic
this.
phoenix flickered, then
This was the
disappeared.
wine she treasured very much.
When it reappeared, it was
Normally,
by Linley's side.
she would not bear to drink it.
Let me tell you,
But
this is your
now,
last chance.
seeing someone gulp it down.
In the future, I
How
won't
could she
care
not
about
feel
your
pain?
Tribulation lightning.
Thud.
Looking at Lin Rei,
In less than a
Xia
minute,
Feng's
Lin Rei
face
had
was
drained
filled
the
with
entire
resentment.
jug of wine in one gulp.
She was very
then
unhappy.
viciously smashed the jug onto the ground.
All right.
Seeing
This
Lin
is
Rei's
the last
drinking
chance.
speed, the jade-faced
Lin
Rakshasa's
Rei
mouth
had his
twitched.
own way of dealing with Xia
Her
Feng.
face was full of embarrassment.
Although this was the last chance,
thinking that the
when
wine
time
she had
came,
treasured for
she would
thousands
have
of
to
years was
appear.
going to disappear like water. She could not help but want
She
to slap
snorted
herself.
coldly and ignored Lin Rei.
Awesome. Phew. Then,
drinking
she
wine
walked
and
back
eating
to her
meat.
room. At this
At
moment,
this moment,
Lin Rei suddenly
withdrew
felt that
his
his
gaze
life was
and looked at
complete.
Zhuge He.
If he could live
Fellow
like this
Zhuge,
forever,
I
it
fulfilled
would not
my
be a
promise
bad
to you.
thing. In
Everyone,
that case,
eat.
I'll take my leave first. Then, without waiting for Zhuge He's response, he left with Chu
Seeing
Xi
everyone's
and
shocked
Yun Kai
gazes,
and returned to
Lin
his
Rei
room. Called out to everyone and then
Sigh.
continued with the second jar
Forget
of
it.
wine. We can
Just
only
like
meet
that,
such a
jar
capable
after
person
jar
again
was
if
drunk.
fate wills it. In the blink of an
After
eye,
seeing Lin
more
Rei
than an
and the
hour
others
had completely
passed.
disappear.
Under
Zhuge
the
He
siege of
called everyone
everyone,
to leave.
the giant monster was left
in
with
the
a
room,
pile of
Lin
bones.
Rei sat on the bed. Phew.
He looked
Comfortable.
at Chu Xi and Yun Kai
He rubbed
and
his
said with a
stomach and
smile,
raised his back,
I'm about to go
looking
into
very
seclusion.
satisfied. During this period,
caused the
you
evil
two should
phoenix
also
beside
go
him
into
to laugh.
seclusion.
Don't
However,
go out.
although everyone was eating and
I'll
drinking,
call you when I come
Lin
out.
Rei did not forget about the
Hearing the
jade-faced
order,
Rakshasa.
the two nodded repeatedly.
Now that they had eaten and drunk,
Yes,
it
we
was time to
understand.
settle the score. After Lin Rei's
Nodding,
serious
he
expression,
then placed his
everyone
divine
fell
sense
into
on
silence.
Chu Xi.
No one
You
said anything.
do as I said before.
Except for the jade-faced
Although I
Rakshasa
can't let you go
herself,
into seclusion
everyone's
for 100
eyes were
years.
fixed on
When
her.
I come out,
I'll check
at
on
this
your
moment,
cultivation. Looking at her, Lin Rei spoke.
Try your best to advance from the
Speak.
Dan stage to the Zone stage.
Why are you following us? As for your cultivation,
Lin Rei's
you've
words
been
were
advancing
exactly
too
what
quickly
Xia Feng
recently,
and
the others were thinking.
Therefore,
During
they
this
were
period,
also very
don't
curious
advance
as
for
to
why the jade-faced Rakshasa
Focus
was
on
following
consolidating
them.
your cultivation first.
Seeing everyone's gaze,
Wait
the
until your
jade-faced
cultivation
Rakshasa
is
trembled.
completely consolidated before
She
you make the
smiled
next
bitterly and
breakthrough.
said, Do you still remember that
I'll
time
remember.
at Stormhouse?
Yes.
After instructing
What's
Chu
wrong?
Xi, he turned to
Lin
Yun
Rei
Kai
nodded
and
in
said,
response.
You won't be able to compete much.
When you first
so
came,
don't concoct
I felt
pills.
that you were
extraordinary. Just cultivate according
Although
to the
you are only a
cultivation
late
method I
god
taught you
emperor,
before.
the spiritual energy
Cultivate
in your body is
well.
dense.
This
It is
will bring
something
you
I have never
unexpected
seen
benefits
before.
in the future. Moreover, I can vaguely
understand.
feel a very mysterious
All
and
right,
powerful
since
aura
that's
from
the
your body.
case,
You too can go
I
back
am
into
very
seclusion.
curious about this.
When I come out, the
I'll
ancient
wake you
corpse
up.
trove is about to open.
Then,
with a wave of his
I want to
hand,
obtain an
spiritual
item from the
energy
ancient
rushed
corpse
out and
trove.
formed two spiritual
Furthermore,
heads. I unintentionally
they enveloped
heard you
Chu
all
Xi
saying that you would be
and Yun
leaving
Kai
and then
first.
gently pushed them out of the
Thus,
room.
I
The
followed
door
you
was
all to
closed
take
and
a
Chu
look.
Xi and Yun Kai
I
left.
didn't expect.
At this moment,
Hee hee,
in the room,
you didn't expect
Lin
me
Rei
to know
smiled
about a
when he
raise.
sensed that the two had left. Moreover, my
I hope you
attainments in
two will
arrays
have
are
improved
so
after
high.
I come out.
I even
With
helped you
that,
suppress it.
Lin Rei
right?
prepared
to go into seclusion.
He said
to her with an amused expression. Who is it?
Yes.
Just as
This
he was
is
about
what
to
I didn't
enter the
expect.
system to go into seclusion.
Although
a
I heard that
familiar
you could
feeling
break the
suddenly
seal
appeared.
outside
the ancient corpse trove. I
didn't expect
your
your
attainments
attainments
in arrays to be so high.
At this
moment, in a house
After
not
hearing
far
the
from
truth,
Lin Rei's
Lin
room,
Rei understood
Hua
her
Yuyin,
motive.
who had competed with
All
Lin
right,
Rei in the
I don't
alchemy
intend to
conference,
pursue this
was
matter.
staring at Lin Rei's room
Lin
with
Rei
interest. Said to the jade-faced Rakshasa,
the little princess of the
although
barren
she had been
states Hua
tailing
family
them,
in the
Lin
holy
decided
world has
not
a
to
habit of
pursue the
speaking.
matter. Seeing that
Aren't
she
you
didn't
afraid
have
of
any
getting
bad
needles'
intentions, and seeing the wine
You.
she had just offered him,
Hua Yuyin was shocked.
however, he was very curious.
She turned
about
around
the thing
and
that
saw
the
Lin
jade-faced
Rei looking at
Rakshasa
her with a
mentioned.
smile.
He really
You.
couldn't figure out what it was that could
Why are
make
you
a
here?
higher cultivator yearn for
I
it.
just felt that you.
Firstly,
At
he
this
saw the
moment,
rationality
Hua
in the
Yuyin did not
jade-faced
understand.
Rakshas's eyes. She felt that
He
Lin
didn't
Rei
believe
was
that
in
the
the room a
jade-faced
moment ago,
Rakshasa wanted
but
to
in
get
the
the
next
corpse
second,
king pill.
he appeared behind her. But other than the corpse
She
king
knew
pill,
this speed
he
very
couldn't
well.
think of anything else. Tell me, why are
You.
you here? When Lin Rei opened
Why
his
are you
mouth to
spying on
ask
me?
what it was, the
What are you
jade-faced
trying to do?
Rakshasa seemed to understand
Instead
Lin
of
Rei's
answering
intention.
Hua
Yuin's question, he asked his own question. Stingy. She
Knowing
immediately
that Lin
stopped
Rei
him and
would
replied,
not tell her,
I want a
Hua
string
Yuyin
of
stuck
Buddha
out her
beads.
tongue
and smiled mischievously.
It is a string of innate treasure
Then,
that belongs
she
to Saint
explained,
Buddha Nan
what
Wu.
else can I do? Innate treasure?
It's all because of the 9
You're
revolution
saying that the
mixed
ancient
energy
corpse
pill
trove
you
has
gave
that
me.
thing?
It's
At
so
this
good.
moment, it was Lin Rei's
After
turn to
eating
be
it,
shocked. My cultivation has
knew
increased
very
very
well
well about innate treasures.
I feel that if I eat a few
it was
more
a Dharma
pills,
artifact
I can
that
break through
evolved
the
from
emperor
heaven
god
and
realm
earth
and
at the
enter the
beginning of the
ultimate
world.
god realm.
Its power was more than double that of an acquired treasure. Lin Ray with a yearning look. However, Lin Ray couldn't figure out why no one else knew that there was an innate treasure in the ancient corpse trove. You're interesting. Everyone looked at the jade-faced Rakshasa. He had never seen anyone who asked for things so confidently. Even Xia Feng was the same. Hee. Since you think I'm interesting, as a living being of then the give me a few more 9 revolution. She also knew how precious innate treasures were. Don't worry, when I enter the everyone's confused eyes, I'll pay you back double. The jade-faced Rakshasa didn't hide anything and told them everything's current state. Linley chuckled and walked towards his room. Back then, I found a map in the ancient corpse trove. It's not like I don't know what happened to you in the Saints' world. There was information about the Buddha beads on the back of the map. You should save it. Moreover, the location of the Buddha beads was clearly marked on the map. To speak again. So, Lin Ray returned to his room and locked the door. When the ancient corpse trove opened. He entered the system and began his seclusion. At this moment, everyone would be fools if they still didn't understand. However, Lin Ray was also interested in the innate treasure in the Buddha beads. Lin Ray came to the front of the little dragon excitedly and sat down. Who wouldn't want an innate treasure? Come on. The answer, of course, you're quite impatient, aren't you? It wasn't just looking at Lin Ray. The little dragon said with a smile. Felt a surge of compassion in her heart. Upon hearing his words, Lin Ray gave him a helpless look. All her Khanate cardinal treasures had been taken away by Haoyu. I haven't used my eyes for such a long time. It could be said that she did not have any external support except for her own unprecedented cultivation. Really? As a living being of the untainted land and a product of heaven and earth, the little dragon she couldn't help but feel ashamed and humiliated. All right, let's begin. I can't wait any longer. With you. After saying that, other than Lin Ray took out the Tendo's eye. You can ask for anything you want. Using his spiritual energy these words entered Linley's ears, he dragged the Tendo's eye and handed it to the little dragon. However, at this Linley didn't dare to be interested in the jade-faced Rakshas waiting for his eyes to return to normal. What he was interested in right now, aside from the Corpse King pills, was a string of Buddhist prayer beads. I'll go all out. Looking at Lin Ray's expectant and excited face, the little dragon sighed inwardly. Then, Chapter 754, eye and began to repair Lin Ray's eyes flashed with amusement as she looked at the jade-faced corpse trove. A young man dressed in a gorgeous brocade robe stood on top of a towering mountain cooperating with you. His eyes were filled with anticipation as he looked into the distance not to take such a good on his lips. Innate treasure. However, this smile wasn't just charming on the surface. Evil Phoenix naturally couldn't say this out loud. It was extremely strange and sinister, said this in his heart, the kind that made one's hair stand on end. Finally, we don't know if that thing is real or not. The ancient corpse trove is about to be lifted. We are going in for the Corpse King pill. I'm finally going to be free. We don't want to consider anything else. For millions of years, after speaking, I've been locked in this forbidden land and suffered the coldness and cruelty of as though he wanted to know what Linley was thinking. Finally, the bitterness is over and the sweetness is about to come. Lin Ray's face darkened as he watched Xia Feng's moment. The balloon jade-faced face was filled with disappointment. At this moment, and Lin Ray cursed giving off a feeling less than 100 times in his mind. Millions of years have passed. Yes, little time we're going to find the Corpse King. I don't know if you're still alive. Sorry. Of course, despite Xia Feng's words, after spending so much time with teardrop flowed out of the man's what Xia Feng was thinking. It was filled with anticipation. It would be strange if Xia Feng wasn't tempted by an innate treasure. He knew that millions of years had passed. A innate treasure. How could his younger siblings still be alive? It wasn't something any top-grade artifact unless their cultivation was heaven-defying. Moreover, it was impossible for them to have such a powerful life force and lifespan. Had ruled it for so long. However, in the depths of his heart, there was still a trace of expectation and hope. As for Chu Xi, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. They didn't know much about Khanate treasures, there were all kinds of strange things in the boundless universe. Fine. What if they cultivated? The jade-faced Rakshasa was disappointed at Lin Ray's cultivated to the point where it was a pity that they had to agree to the restrictions because of her family's wealth. All of this was still unknown. She was very surprised. But the man's expectations wasn't that her things weren't tempting enough, but that she was facing Lin Ray. Little sister, little brother. Just the things if I had known that I would die here and accidentally become the master of this ancient Rakshasa had, I definitely wouldn't have come. If he added his own, even the man wearing a gorgeous brocade one-tenth was the master of the ancient corpse trove. Of course, her biggest weakness was that she didn't know Lin Ray. At the same time, if she did, he was the target of Lin Ray's desire to obtain the pill. Furthermore, even if she used her own cultivation divine realm or herself, although he would still be indifferent to it, at least he was able to live with his younger siblings. He had 2 beautiful wives who although his life wasn't very satisfactory and as beautiful as jade, he was still very happy. How could he take a fancy to the jade-faced Rakshasa, his younger sister? Moreover, there was no way that Lin Ray would be interested in her cultivation method. At that time, there was a sutra pavilion in the system. In the end, could have any cultivation method you wanted in there from a living old man. Moreover, he said that there was a medicine in the ancient corpse trove. With such conditions, this why would Linley want to found anywhere else? Of course, it could only be found in the ancient corpse trove. Ah, the name of this medicine was
melancholy.
grass.
Lin Rei chuckled.
It was the most important
He stood up and
formula
said to
for his
Xia
younger
Feng
sister
and the
Gu
others.
Ai.
All right, since we're done
After
eating,
hearing this,
let's go for a
Gu
walk.
Feng became excited.
Are you
His
sure
younger
now?
sister could finally be saved. After that, the old man left. Gu Feng wanted to find the
Hearing
medicinal
Linli's
stone
words,
wholeheartedly.
Evil Phoenix was startled
This
and looked
time,
at him suspiciously.
He bid farewell to his family
He
and
then
went to the
pointed at
ancient
his
corpse
junior
trove
apprentice
alone.
brother in the night sky.
Everything was fine at
Yes.
first.
Young
However,
master,
when he went
it's
deep
night
into
now.
the trove, he finally
That's when
found
the
the
monsters
monsters
are
are
active.
active. If we go
Originally,
now,
won't
everything
we?
was so simple.
AI.
When he saw the medicinal
When these words
stone
entered
before
Linli's
him,
ears,
he only
a look
needed
of
to extend his
speechlessness
hand
appeared
and
on
he
his
would be able
face.
to grab it. As a middle
However,
stage
at the
god
moment
emperor,
when he extended his
actually
hand and
dared
was
to
about to
utter
touch
such the
words.
medicinal stone. A
In
corpse
truth,
master
at this
instantly
moment,
rushed out
Lin
from the
Rei
side.
really wanted to slap the
At
back
that
of Chu
time,
Xi's
Gu
head.
Feng was only an ordinary
right,
person.
stop talking nonsense.
Although he was very strong,
It's because
he was
it's
still no
nighttime
match
that I'm
for a
asking
corpse
you to go
master.
together.
Corpse
Saying
masters
that,
were
Lin
existences
Rei pointed
comparable
at
to
Chu
divine
Xi's
gods.
bulging stomach and said with disdain,
How could an ordinary
as a
divine
cultivator,
guard be a match
take a
for
look
them?
at yourself.
In the end,
You don't
the
even have
divine
the
guard
demeanor
had
of an
his blood
expert.
sucked dry by the corpse
Furthermore,
master.
isn't that how the saying goes?
1,000 years later, the
Move a
originally
bit
dead
after a
Gu
meal
Feng
and you'll live
miraculously
to
woke up.
99.
Even though
Furthermore,
your life
he
force
possessed
is
the
vigorous,
strength of a
but
corpse master.
At this
Furthermore,
moment,
he
Lin
also
Rei,
possessed an
who was listening
indescribable
by the
cultivation
side,
technique.
could not take it anymore and
It
said,
was precisely
I say,
because of this
can you guys
cultivation
do it or
technique
not?
that he began to slowly
Are you going
cultivate
or
it.
not? Another
Saying
10,000
that,
years
Xia
passed.
Feng did not rush them.
Just when Gu Feng
She
felt
chose
that
a
he had
direction
become
and
so
walked
powerful
over.
that he was invincible.
He
Seeing
left
this
the ancient corpse trove.
jade-faced Azura, who had been
After
observing
finding
by
the
the
Yin
side,
spirit grass,
felt awkward.
he planned to leave the ancient
He had never
corpse
seen
trove.
such a situation before
However,
and found
who
it
would have
funny.
thought that,
To Gu Feng's
Ere,
despair,
Lin Rei
at
was
the
startled
moment
when he
by
was
Xia
about to
Feng.
leave the ancient corpse trove.
He immediately
Just as he
chased
stepped
after
into
her.
the border between the outside
Since
world
Lin
and the
Rei
ancient
already
corpse
had
trove,
one,
the
the
other
other
two
two
naturally
naturally
would not stay here.
It locked
They
onto him
immediately
and pushed him
followed.
into the depths of the ancient
Should I
corpse
follow
trove.
or not?
Regarding
Staying
this,
where he was
Gu
and looking
Feng
at the empty
persevered.
space,
The jade-faced
However,
Rakshasa
every
felt
time,
a trace of
it
loneliness.
was like the first time.
Loneliness.
He tried
At
again
this
and
moment,
again,
he
but
could
in the
not
end,
help but
he
recall
failed
the
again
scene where
and
Lin
again.
Rei and the others were talking.
He knew that he would not be able to
Immediately,
leave.
a smile appeared on
Furthermore,
his face.
such a long time had passed.
Hee, let's follow them.
Although he very much
It's
hoped
quite
that his
fun to be
relatives
with
were
them.
still alive.
Their
Saying
disappearance
that,
was
he
very
looked in the
revealing.
direction Lin Rei and the others
Thus,
went.
he gladly accepted
He
it.
circulated his cultivation and chased after them.
However, there was
With
always
his
a trace
speed,
of hope
he
in his
covered
heart.
1,000 meters with each
That
step.
was because he did not want to believe that his younger
the wind at
siblings
night
had
was
already
slightly
passed
chilly.
away. The forest
like
that
this,
should have been dark
because
was
he
not
was
dark
unable
at
to
all.
leave. He stayed
As
here.
the saying went, the dark and
Furthermore,
windy night
he
could
went
kill
deeper,
people.
deeper, and deeper.
The night in the
and
Sky
deeper,
Mountain Range
defeating
was
the
soul-stirring
experts of
and
the
very
ancient corpse
shocking.
trove step by step.
At this moment,
Lin Rei
1,000 years
and the
later,
others had
he
already
became the
arrived
king
at
of
the
the central
ancient
area
corpse
of the
trove.
mountain range.
Furthermore,
Here,
he had
powerful
cultivated
demonic
a rare
beasts
corpse
were
core.
everywhere, especially
In the
those in the
past,
Emperor God
there would also
realm.
be some people who would
They were
recklessly come to
endless.
the ancient corpse trove.
Linley's group made their way
Thus,
through the mountain
in order
forest.
to leave,
Their
Gu
faces
Feng,
calm
who
and
wanted
even
to
a hint
leave,
of contentment.
spread a rumor that as long as
However,
he could obtain
it
the
was
corpse
different
core
for
of a
Chu's
corpse
king,
king, and the
he
other
would be
one,
able to increase his cultivation.
both of them were tense and ready to
In
fight.
fact, he might even be
It
able
was
to
as if
break
they
through
were
the
ready to
deity
fight
realm
and
and
reach
reach
the
the
saint realm.
Observing their
Cultivators
expressions,
love to hear
Lin Rei
such
chuckled
words
and
and treasures
said,
the most.
In a while, I'll find some
Sure
demonic
enough,
beasts
when this
for you.
news spread, the
You
entire
have to do
deity
your
realm
best
was
and
shaken.
see who can kill the demonic
In the
beasts
end,
first.
every few hundred years or even 1,000
right.
years, there would be a group of people who would enter the ancient corpse trove. Saying
In
that,
the end,
he seemed
they
to
would
have
all
thought
be
of something
cruelly
and
killed by
continued.
Gu Feng.
Whoever kills the demonic
When they were
beast I choose for
7,000
you
years
first will
old,
be taught
Gu
the physique
Feng would
refinement
obtain the
technique.
information he wanted to know.
This way, your
Then,
physical body
he would
will be able to
kill them
transform
without any
further
trace
and
of
achieve an
emotion.
immortal body. After all,
Moreover,
he was someone
after
who
the
had already
refinement,
died once.
you will be able to kill an emperor god
Although he
with
was
one
alive
punch.
now, he did not have a
Without
heartbeat
using your
or a
cultivation,
pulse. You will be able to fight
He
an
only
emperor
had the
god
ability
with
to
just your
stand
physical
up and
body,
walk,
as well as think.
Your strength will be unstoppable.
This time around, it was the
Saying
opening
that,
of the hidden
Lin
ground
Rei's
that happened
face was
only
full of
once in
pride.
1,000 years.
He was a physique
However,
refinement
to Gu
cultivator
Feng's
and could fight an
excitement,
emperor
he
god
felt
with
that
just
the
one
spirit
punch.
formation sealing him was
If
slowly
he fully
disappearing.
unleashed his physical body,
Regarding
perhaps
this, even a mid or late ultimate god cultivator would be a match for him. He wanted to leave.
Thank you,
he wanted to
young
verify
master.
whether his relatives had
We will
truly
do
left.
our best.
Plop.
At this moment,
Both of their faces were filled with excitement.
appeared.
Of course,
With a respectful
they wanted
expression,
such a cultivation
he stood in front of
technique.
Gu Feng and asked.
Moreover,
Reporting to the Zong
physical
master,
body had
this
always
time,
been a taboo.
are we going
for
to kill all the
cultivators?
people who come here as usual?
If they could cultivate both
Yes,
the inner and outer
after
body,
coming back to
then
his senses
the
and
result
hearing
could
his
be
subordinate's
imagined.
question,
Gu Feng
who would
fell
be a
into
match
deep
for them in
thought.
the same realm?
He had not thought
Of
about
course,
this question.
although they were excited when
He
they
only
heard
wanted
about
to
the
leave
reward,
as soon as
they were
possible
still
and had
very
forgotten
afraid
about
of the
this
demonic
matter.
beasts they were about to face.
A few minutes later,
Gu Feng came back to his senses. They knew Lin Rei's character. He turned to look at the man kneeling on the ground and said, he would choose at least a great perfection god, kill all the people or an early ultimate god. Leave none alive. Thinking of that, both of them wanted to reject the reward. You don't need to bring those people to me. The thought of getting a physique refinement technique was too tempting. The blood vessels in their bodies are very powerful. Shattered their thoughts of retreating. You guys should hurry up and cultivate. You're worth teaching. Seeing the resolute when I leave this time, I will not feel that truly made up their minds to challenge guys. Get ready, the battle is about to begin. At this moment, yes, the man was shocked. This, the two of them did not dare to slack with a blank expression. They immediately sat down cross-legged and began to circulate their cultivation techniques. He also wanted to go out. They wanted to replenish all the spiritual energy they had just consumed. Looking at their actions, because of the spirit formation, he couldn't go out at all. The corner of his lips curled into a sly smile. Now that he heard that the Zong master was going out, he took out a 9 Revolution mixed essence pill and respected the Zong master a lot. Help me catch two great perfection god who could unify the fragmented ancient corpse trove in 1,000 years. Since they've come to the demonic beast territory, don't you think he didn't hide anything? They don't train their willpower and raise their cultivation. I can feel it. Hearing this, that barrier is slowly weakening me. She thought that's why I want to go out and see if my family is still there. However, for the sake of the 9 Revolution mixed essence pill, but Xia Feng readily agreed. I want to try. Wait, what if something unexpected happens? After saying that, he disappeared from where he was. Don't worry. At this moment, I really can't only find the two of them, I will come back immediately and jade-faced Rakshasa were left. I want to ascend to the holy realm as soon as possible. It's very suitable for training the Sect's disciples. At this moment, jade-faced Azura praised. This is the Gu Feng looking at her, the Zong master of the ancient corpse trove. Then, he didn't say anything. That's the kind of courage you need. Hee, you brat. Hearing the man's flattery, Gu Feng felt very helpless. Lin Rei didn't have the urge to speak at all. You can go now. He had nothing to say. At most, I will be able to leave in 30 years. The situation was very awkward. Yes, not knowing what to do, he took out an immortal fruit from the storage ring and swallowed it. Sigh. Crunch. I hope you won't disappoint me this time. Was very delicious. You can really let me out and give me immortal world. If someone saw looking at the man eating this fruit, they would definitely want to kill him or trick him to come here. He was confused. Time passed quickly. The sudden sound of the system notification in the blink of an eye. 22 years had passed. He hadn't heard this sound in a long time. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from the ancient corpse trove. It was because there was a mission, and it was dangerous. At this moment, the strange movement of the ancient corpse trove caused the 7 sects in the divine realm. On the other side, some smaller she felt Lin Rei's immortal realm people to the ancient corpse trove. She thought that an expert had arrived. Although they knew that there was no news of those who entered she released her divine sense and began to investigate. They were led by their seniors. However, after scanning with her divine treasures inside, she didn't find anything out in wave after wave. However, all of the major puzzled by Lin Rei's sent out their most valuable treasures. In the end, she had no choice. Even some of the sect leaders of the major sects had personally taken part in the expedition. Hearing the notification, all for the sake of obtaining the treasures in the ancient corpse vault as well as the corpse cores in the corpse king's bodies. Looking at the clear sky, Lin Rei asked, moment, what's in the most authoritative heavenly temple in the sword sect? It's nothing. Zhuge He was sitting on the seat of the sect leader and found that there is a very rare demon beast living in the 12 protectors with a serious and hesitant expression. This demon beast is the first living thing in the universe. This time, should we participate in the expedition thing in the ancient corpse trove? According to the past, those who could come out from the ancient corpse trove had a 90% chance of dying. It was very funny. Furthermore, only 1 or 2 of them came out alive. However, the treasures that those 2 people brought with them are indeed like the expenses of our sect. Chapter 755. That's 100 years' worth of expenses for a sect. Looking at Lin Rei's comical expression, the emotionless elders and protectors of the sword sect were similarly hesitant. Linley didn't care about whether he knew about this problem, but they were unsure if they should go or not. He focused all of his attention on the first batch of living beings. After all, the probability of death was high if they went. The 8 treasures exquisite pig is one of the most miraculous races in the world. Suffer a huge loss. Only one will be born in the 8 treasures. It would be spread by the outside every world that they were too cowardly to enter the ancient corpse trove. I wasn't sure at first. This was a dilemma. However, the system has detected signs of activity from the 8 treasures exquisite pig tribe. I feel that we should go to the ancient corpse trove. Do you want it or not? Furthermore, at this moment, we should have a middle stage god emperor leading in front of Linley, allowing him to choose. Just as everyone was pondering, the voice of the girl the same as the one it had given him before. One could see a beautiful girl standing in the corner. When the system mentioned the 8 treasures, she was looking at the cultivators present with a resolute expression. Although he didn't know what it could be used for, it was the first batch of living creatures in the world. Zhuge He asked. Just like Xia Feng and Pai Xiao, have you forgotten? They were born from the world infused with the great Tao sword which surpasses the supreme great deity weapons. I forgot to tell you. In addition, while I am a middle-stage god, the system seemed to have thought of something. Do you still think that we can't win against the other treasures? Exquisite Boar clan. Furthermore, they are immune to all spells and are immune that if anyone dares to snatch the treasures, he will annihilate their physical bodies are extremely powerful. I feel that this is not the most important thing. That's right. The 8 treasures exquisite pig tribe is the most powerful and most sought after ability. Zhuge He's eyes widened. They are born with an affinity for heaven and earth, joy and relief. To put it bluntly, his eyes became resolute at this exquisite pig tribe is also known as the treasure hunting pig tribe. I'll order the Grand Elder and specialize in finding extremely precious heaven and ancient quartz trove. They don't care about ordinary heaven and earth, but at the very least, don't lose your life. Previously, do you understand? Lin Rei was tempted. Furthermore, however, this time, after hearing my the system's explanation, he became impulsive. The moment these words were spoken, he wanted nothing more than to flip the entire soaring sky mountain range upside down. The dangers of the ancient quartz trove were not something ordinary people could predict. Then, he would get him to help him search. They did not think godly master would actually let his daughter, and the little princess of the sword sect, go. Although he didn't need some of them, no one. He still had a sect to support. Even though they had doubts in their hearts, catchphrase they still did as they were told. Poor. We understand. You have two choices. The Grand Elder, Second Elder, do you want to capture Miss Mingyue a victory and return early? Of course, I have to make it clear to you first. This phenomenon was very common within the 7 sections, who was originally very even excited if they wanted to steal. They had like to use their cold water had been poured over his head. After when he heard the system's this time they were sure that it was the ancient quartz trove. His excitement and impulsiveness so they had to be cautious. Were instantly washed away. At this moment, as far as he could remember, the dragon as long no longer as the system said something like, but there was only Lin Rei sitting alone on the surface of the water. If he didn't peel off a layer of his skin, his eyes were shining brightly. The system wouldn't give up, as if there were no signs of dissipating. When he heard the word prerequisites, at this moment, Lin Rei was stunned. The aura on Lin Rei's body was indeed the system chuckled at Lin Rei's expression and didn't think too much about it. Was extremely domineering. Ah. This brat has been in closed-door cultivation for more than 20 years. Choice are that the 8 treasures exquisite pig is immune to magic and his cultivation has broken through to the great perfection late-stage god emperor physical body is the strongest of the strongest, cured his eyes. The king of kings. At this moment, if you want to capture the changes you have to think of a way. The system was filled with emotions. You will end up with nothing. The only thing it was dissatisfied with was the little dragon. In a difficult position. Because this time, immunity to magic was already difficult enough for him. After all, it was originally a physical body. Now that his soul energy unless a miracle happened, he had to return to his training ground and cultivate exquisite pig. Otherwise, at this moment, he would not wake up again. Lin Rei's interest was piqued. As soon as the system he could only wait and couldn't hang on to the beast. Lin Rei let out a long breath of turbid air. This feeling made Lin Rei want to die. His face was filled with ease and comfort. All right, you can leave now. Along with the comfort of his body, this is what I called his originally closed eyes opened at this moment. When Lin Rei heard the system's words, he wanted to say something. But before he could open his mouth, 747, he found himself out of the system's space and returned to his body. A ray of golden light shot out from his eyes and landed on a hill in front of him. Lin Rei's face was filled with melancholy. The golden light shot out from He didn't know how to capture the 8 treasures into the mountain pig since he couldn't use magic with a loud physical body. It exploded like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers. This was the most difficult problem of all. The next moment, the golden light in Lin Rei's eyes regained its clarity. Loud noise pulled Lin Rei back to reality from his color had completely disappeared. Raising his head, his eyes saw that not far away, usual nimbleness 2 demonic beasts the size of small mountains had appeared on Lin Rei's face. In the air, finally, the evil phoenix was controlling them with spells. Looking at the colorful space around him, this, Lin Rei's face was filled with excitement. Finally, it was just that there was something he wanted to match his face at all. Lin Rei turned around and said to the 2 who were recovering from their exhaustion. It was like flowers blooming in spring, giving others a warm feeling. Your opponents are here. Looking at his eyes, it's up to you now. They were cold and emotionless. Phew. Hearing Lin Rei's call, a feeling the 2 of them woke up from their meditations. If one looked at them enough, raising their heads, feel as if they had saw the 2 enormous beasts, and the expressions on their faces instantly. The moment Lin Rei felt the colors around him, looking at their strange feeling came from his body. Lin Rei smiled. After checking it out, 2 grand perfection god emperor demonic beasts. TSK. Although they aren't very strong, I would contain already such a huge amount of energy. I believe you'll be able to kill them. After 20 years of closed-door cultivation, it allowed me to advance from the middle stage to the peak of the late talismans, arrays. If a few more come, won't I only need 100 years to advance to the sacred world? As long as one of you can kill them first, think about it. The body refinement technique. He did not believe that the tendos I was as common as cabbages on the streets. The 2 became even more solemn. One had to know that this was the tendos. They were clear of their cultivation. It was already a blessing from the heavens to have one. They were facing grand perfection. This kind of opportunity could not be forced. This made them feel as if they were courting death. He had nothing else to ask for. So, at this moment, feeling the energy in his body, Lin Rei was filled with excitement.
Two
After
figures
all,
flashed
the
past
system
each
had
other.
promised him that as long as he
Their
could reach
speed
the
was
late
so
stage
fast
of the
that
God
Lin Ray
Emperor
couldn't
realm,
help but
it would
nod
give
in
him a spatial
admiration.
technique. Alright,
This was
I'll leave
something
them
that
to
Lin
you.
Ray had been thinking about
At
all
this
these
moment,
years.
Xia Feng,
Now
was
that he had
controlling
finally
the two
broken
demonic
through to the late
beasts,
stage
saw
of
the
the
two of
God
them.
Emperor realm.
How could
She
he not be
immediately
excited?
retracted her aura and
As he
cultivation
thought about
and
this,
said to them.
Linley didn't waste any more
After
time.
that, her body flashed
Raising
and
his
disappeared.
head, he stared at the sky and said, "System, now that I've reached the level you spoke of, shouldn't you tell me about that secret technique?" When she reappeared,
Silence.
she was already beside
After
Lin
Ray
Ray finished speaking.
Do you really
his
think
face
they
was
can kill
silent.
these two grand perfection
It was
God
as if
Emperor
the system
demonic
did not
beasts?
hear him.
You should
Seeing
know
this,
that they aren't you or
Linley's
me.
face twitched, and
They
he
are
rolled
just
his
ordinary
eyes.
alchemy disciples.
Tirelessly, he opened
Although
his
you've
mouth
trained them
again
for a
and said,
period of time,
"System,
you are an omnipotent existence."
Xia Feng looked at Lin Ray
Tell
with
me,
concern
an
and
existence
said,
like you wouldn't want to renege
"Oh,
on my secret technique.
did I hear
right?"
wrongly?" At this
The
moment,
incomparably
Lin
powerful
Ray
Lord
used his
Xia Feng
cultivation,
actually
even
knows
though
how to
he
care
knew it
for
was
others.
useless. Lin
However,
Ray teased.
what he did not expect was that after he finished speaking the second time,
Seeing
a few
Lin
breaths
Ray
later,
teasing her,
the originally
Xia Feng
quiet
rolled
space
her
was
eyes at
finally
him.
broken by the system's voice.
She then snorted and didn't speak anymore.
"You
Hee
little
hee.
rascal."
After seeing
The system
Xia
laughed
Feng
and
silence,
scolded.
Lin
"Can you
Ray
not turn
turned
to
so
the two
greedy?"
of them? Opening
At
up
this
a
moment,
secret space,
Lin Ray's
although
eyes
it's
were
not a
filled with
top-notch
worry.
existence,
It's
he was
still
also
very
very
impressive.
worried about the two of them.
Can't you let me slow down?
However, if he didn't use
my
this
heart
method,
would ache if
it
I
would
gave
be
you something
impossible
so
for them
good.
to raise their cultivation quickly.
At this moment,
Lin Ray
everything he
was
did
speechless.
was for the good of the two of them.
However, he did not
Even if
disturb
his
the
son was
sadness
here,
of the system.
he would do the same.
Instead,
Peng,
he quietly
peng,
waited for the
at this
system
moment,
to give him the
sky
secret
trembled
technique.
and rumbled.
Anyway,
The light
when
of
Lin
battle
Ray
flashed
felt that
in
he
the
had broken
surrounding
through to the
50
late
kilometers.
stage of the God Emperor realm, he
Seems
decided
like
that
they
he would
are
not give
fine.
up until he got the secret
Linley,
technique. Who had been observing the
10
battle
minutes,
between Chu Xia
1
and
hour,
Chu Li
for hours,
saw them executing
after a
all
very
sorts
long
of combat
time,
techniques
until Lin
and
Ray
spells
did
with
not
ease
know
in
how
front of the
long.
grand
The
perfection
silent
God
system
Emperor
finally
finally
spoke.
spoke. "You brat.
I
There was
really
no
admire
danger
you."
to their lives at all."
Towards Lin Ray,
At this
the
moment,
system was helpless.
Linley's face
All right,
relaxed.
you can go out first.
His anxious heart finally
I have to
calmed
find
down.
that secret technique for you.
He wasn't worried about the
After
two of
you
them,
come out from
but
the
the
ancient
matter of
quartz
the
vault,
8 treasures
I'll give it to
exquisite
you,
pig
okay?
king. Looking at Xia
hearing the
Feng,
words of the
Lin
system,
Ray raised
Lin
his
Ray
eyebrows.
fell into deep thought.
His eyes were
Logically
filled with
speaking,
surprise. He would not agree to
Lady
such a
Xia
thing.
Feng,
But when he
hearing
thought of
the
the
strange
possibility
cry,
that the ancient
Xia
quartz
Feng
vault
was
had
speechless.
opened, he
But
felt
she
a
still
sense of
turned to
urgency.
Lin Ray and asked, "What's
After
the matter?"
all, he was aiming for the
Hee hee.
corpse core this time.
With a
and the
serious
corpse core was
expression,
related
he
to
began
his
to
life.
talk about the 8 treasures
Therefore,
exquisite pig.
he could not help but be nervous.
At this moment,
Lin Ray
thinking
didn't
of
hide
this,
anything
Lin
from the
Ray
jade-faced
agreed.
Rakshasa.
"All right, since it's like this,
He generously
I promise
allowed
you.
her to hear everything clearly.
But when the time comes,
a
don't
few minutes
act shamelessly
later,
like
what?
today.
8
Just
treasures
pretend that you
exquisite
didn't
pig?
hear me."
Xia
Air.
Feng was shocked.
"I won't."
Her eyes were filled with
Also,
disbelief.
That's
I
impossible.
really didn't hear you just now. How could such a thing
I'll be
still
a
be
fool
alive
if I believe you.
I remember that
These
they were
words
all
could
wiped
only
out
fool
during
a
the First
3-year-old
Great
child.
Tribulation. To deal
No,
with him, there are
hee hee,
indeed
it was
traces of
simply
the 8
treating him as
treasures
a retard.
exquisite pig here. All right, the
I won't
information
argue
is
with you
accurate.
anymore.
There is no luck.
I'd better go out quickly.
He believed in the system.
I don't know how the ancient
believed
corpse
that the
vault is
8
now,
treasures
and whether
exquisite
those
pig
sects
was
have
here.
entered the ancient corpse vault.
Are you sure?
After saying
Looking
that,
at how confident
Lin Ray
decided
was,
to go out,
Xia Feng couldn't help
However,
but confirm.
just before he left,
This matter
Lin Ray
had to be
could not help
clarified
but turn
because
his
it was
head and
very
look at a mound
important.
of dirt in the depths of the space.
One had to know that the benefits of
This
obtaining
mound of
the
dirt
8
was the
treasures
place where the
exquisite
little
pig
dragon
were
recovered.
unimaginable.
Don't worry,
With the
little
8 treasures
dragon.
exquisite pig,
After
it
I
would only
return
be a
from the
matter of
ancient
time
corpse
before
vault,
they
I will
establish a
search
sect
the
in
entire
holy
celestial
world.
realm for you.
As for cultivation
I will also
resources,
find elixirs
it
that
would
can
be a
increase
piece of
your
cake
soul
for
power
those who
and
possess
replenish
the
your
8
soul
treasures
power.
exquisite pig.
After saying that, he looked at the mound of dirt again. Then, with a thought, he instantly disappeared from the
Yes,
system.
I'm sure and certain that
He
the 8
returned to the
treasures
room where he
exquisite
went into
pig is
seclusion.
here.
But here
Phew,
comes the problem.
returning to reality,
How do we
Lin
capture
Ray
it?
looked around and saw that
It is
nothing had
immune to
changed.
magic and has a dominating
He let out a
physical
long
body.
sigh of relief,
Yes.
and his face was full of smiles.
The 8 treasures exquisite pig was
Finally,
a terrifying
I'm
race
finally
in the
out.
prehistoric era. Ancient corpse
If it
vault,
weren't for the
wait
first
for my
great
arrival.
tribulation, perhaps they would have
After
become
saying
the
that,
number one
he
living
got out of
creature.
bed and tidied up his messy
At this
clothes.
moment, Xia Feng wasn't
His face was
exaggerating
full
at
of
all.
warmth, and then he pushed
If they
the door
couldn't become
open
the
and
number
walked
one
out.
living creature by relying relying on
came
their
out at
race's
noon.
insane constitution and abilities, then it would be an irritable
The sudden
heavenly
voice
item.
made Lin Ray,
The
who was
heavens must be
walking,
blind.
stop in his tracks.
His face
While
was
the two
full
of them were
shock.
thinking about how to capture the
Damn,
8 treasures,
it can't
exquisite
be.
pig.
Xia
At
Feng's
this
eyes
moment,
glinted
Lin
as though
Ray,
she had thought
who
of
was
something.
frozen in place, heard the
Why?
voice of the girl just now.
You've thought of something.
Suddenly,
Lin
a
Ray
girl's
asked
figure appeared
anxiously.
in his mind.
At this moment,
A
looking
girl
at Lin
floated
Ray's
down from the
anxious
roof and
expression,
came in front of
Xia
Lin
Feng
Ray
burst
with a
into
face
laughter.
full of resentment. Lin Rei
She
was
pointed
speechless
at his
at
nose
Xia
and
Feng.
said, "You're finally out.
But in order to obtain the 8
Do you know
treasures
that I've been
exquisite
waiting for
pig,
you here for
Lin
more
Rei
than
hid
20
his
years?
expression. In
Hurry
these
up
20
and say
years,
it.
I
Madam
couldn't do
Xia
anything.
Feng.
I was
Holy
just
shit.
afraid that you would suddenly leave.
Seeing Lin Li's despicable appearance,
in these 20
the
years,
demonic phoenix
I
was
ate and
stunned
slept
and
in the
astonished.
What
This
about
was
you?
the first time she had seen
You were
this side of
comfortably
Lin
in
Li after
seclusion.
such a long time.
Tell me, how are
All
you
right
going to
then.
compensate me?
Actually,
At this
capturing
moment,
the 8
the one who
treasures
spoke was
exquisite
not
pig
someone
isn't
else.
that troublesome.
It was Hua
Oh.
Yuyin, who came to seek the 9 revolution mixed energy pill before Lin Rei went into seclusion. Looking at Hua Yuin's face, Lin Rei smiled
Chapter
helplessly and
756.
bitterly. He did not
Lin Rei
expect Hua
perked up
Yuyin
when
to
he
still
heard
be
that there
so
was a way to
persistent.
capture the 8 treasures
However,
exquisite pig.
he did not plan to give the
Quick,
9 revolution
tell me
mixed
about it.
energy pill to anyone, including Hua Yuyin.
Actually,
The method is
after
very
all,
simple.
he was about to reach the Saint
The 8
realm.
treasures exquisite pig
These
clan
pills
is
were
famous
very
for
useful
finding
to him.
treasures. Thinking about
Therefore,
it,
Lin
if you want
Rei
to capture
quickly
them,
shook his head
you
and
have to
said,
use treasures
"I can't
to
agree
entice
to what
them."
you said.
The evil phoenix
Hearing
replied.
this,
Hua Yuyin quickly
then,
refuted.
he slowly explained the method
However,
he had thought
Lin
of.
Rei cut her off in the end.
Actually,
the method is very
listen,
simple.
I
don't need anything in exchange, including divine
use
treasures.
crystals.
Although
So,
this
give it
idea
up.
was ingenious, he didn't
You.
have many treasures. Seeing that Lin Rei
How would
was
he know
stubborn,
what grade of
Hua
treasure
Yuyin
the
could
8
only use
treasures
the word
exquisite
delay
pig light
to bluff her way out.
Moreover,
They didn't
alright,
even know
since
what
you
grade
don't want
they
to
were
give
at
it to
now.
me,
Then I won't leave until
Seeing
you
Lin
give me
Li's
the
pill.
hesitation. The demonic
During
phoenix,
this period,
who understood
I will follow
him very
you
well,
until you give me the
immediately
pill.
guessed what he was thinking.
Otherwise, I will
she
exhaust
couldn't
you
help
to
but
death.
feel disdain towards him.
Anyway,
I need time.
Tisk, TSK,
I'm not
TSK.
afraid. How can a
Speechless,
sect leader
Lin
be
Rei
so
did not
stingy?
say anything to Hua Yuyin.
I really despise you.
Since she was willing to follow
With that,
him,
evil
then let her
phoenix
follow
couldn't
him.
help but roll his eyes
Anyway,
at Easy-chan. He would be going to the ancient quartz vault soon.
Ha.
With her
Lin
around,
Rei smiled
she might be a
awkwardly
good
when he
assistant.
saw the look in Xia Feng's
Thinking
eyes.
about this, Lin Rei
Then,
smiled and
he
did
fell
not
into
say
deep
anything.
thought.
Instead,
He was thinking about
he
what he
walked
could
towards
use to
Xia
lure the
Feng's
8
room.
treasures exquisite pig out.
After all, only Xia
After all,
Feng was following
it wouldn't
him.
do if the treasure was good
Of
or
course,
bad.
he had to inform her
He had
about
to
the
find
recovery
something
of
that
his
was
similar
eyes.
and wouldn't feel the pinch
Their
even if he
rooms
lost
were not
it.
very far away.
PFFF. In a few
Sudden
minutes,
laughter rang
they
in
arrived
Lin
at
Rei's
Xia
mind.
Feng's room. Lin Rei
Knock,
didn't
knock,
need to
knock.
guess to know who it was.
A series of knocks
Hearing
came
the
into
laughter,
the room.
Lin Rei's face darkened. In the
What
room,
are you laughing
when
at?
Xia Feng was cultivating,
The person who
she
laughed
suddenly
was
heard
none
a
other
series
than
of
the
knocks
system
that
at
was
the door.
embedded in him. In an instant,
Upon hearing
she
Lin
frowned and
Rei's
her
question,
face was
the
filled with
system
coldness.
replied,
What do you want me to
Bastard,
say? I am cultivating.
Isn't it easy to find a treasure
Don't
that
you
is
know how to
similar?
write the word death
Oh.
by disturbing me? Lin Rei
Carrying
raised
a
his huge
brows.
amount of pressure and cultivation.
Since the system
she
had
rushed
said
out of her
so,
body
he
and
would
rushed
stick to
towards
it.
the door. He knew what
Boom.
treasure was most suitable. Lin Rei, thinking
was
of
full
this,
of anticipation,
Lin Rei asked
suddenly
shamelessly,
heard a roar
Hurry
and a
up and tell me
terrifying
what I
pressure
have that
coming
the
from the
8
room.
treasures exquisite pig
He
is
was
interested
shocked
in.
and his face was filled
Think
with
about
astonishment.
Back then, when we were in the Divine Realm's
TSK.
Divine Sect, didn't we obtain
She
a
is
baleful
indeed
blood
in the
pearl
sage
from that
realm.
pool? Even
Do
though
you
I
still
have broken
remember?
through a small level,
Blood
I did not
fiend pearl?
expect it to be so difficult
Listening
to deal
to
with
her
her system's
pressure,
words. Lin Rei
it seems
sank
that
into
I am
his
still
memories.
not strong enough.
After all,
At
so
this
many
moment,
years had passed
feeling the
and he had
intention of
obtained
many
many
things
things
over
over
the
the
years.
Lin Rei smiled and
How could he
transmitted
still
his
remember
voice.
so clearly?
Come out, I am out. After a few minutes,
Lin
Lin
Rei's
Rei
eyes lit up
transmitted
and a
his
smile
voice
in her
appeared on
mind.
his face. After hearing
Yeah.
it, Xia Feng was
He
stunned.
remembered
that he had obtained a pearl
Then,
from a
a
pond
smile
when he was
appeared
fleeing
on
into
her
a
cold
secret
face.
realm.
This
He had
brat,
originally
with a
planned to
smile,
refine a
he
top-grade
retracted
blood
his
fiend
pressure
divine
and took a
artifact.
step forward.
But later, too many
In the
things
next
had
moment,
happened. He
and the
arrived at the
system had
door
issued
and
many
opened it.
missions,
So he had forgotten
Suddenly,
about it. Lin Rei's figure
now that
appeared
he
when the
thought
door
about
was
it,
open. He couldn't help but sigh
At
in
this
his
moment,
heart. Xia Feng was
that
paying
thing was
attention
really
to
a
Lin
treasure,
Rei's eyes,
especially
the baleful blood
You.
energy on it. Your eyes
All
have
right,
recovered. You picked it up anyway. It is obvious.
Besides,
it's useless to
saying
you.
that,
He could not
it doesn't
help but
matter
roll
whether
his
you
eyes.
use it or not.
PFFF, facing Lin Rei's mischievousness, Xia Feng did not give him any face and laughed. Rather than leaving it
After
there,
all,
why not
she
exchange
knew
it
Lin
for a
Rei's
pig that can
character.
search for treasures? All right, come in. This kind of business.
Saying
that,
it's worth
she
it.
removed her hand from the door
That's
and opened a
true.
path for Lin Rei to
At
enter.
this
moment, Lin Rei
You.
couldn't help but be a little impressed.
I don't think
I invited you. You actually helped him
At this
remember
moment,
something that even
Hua
he had
Yuyin,
forgotten. Who swore to follow Lin
After
Rei.
saying that,
saw
he
Lin
thought
Rei
about the
enter
place
and
where
wanted
he
to
had
follow
placed
him.
the blood fiend pearl.
However, the moment
After
she stepped
thinking
into
about
the
it,
door,
he took it
Xia
out from his tone was dissatisfied. Boom! Suddenly,
at this moment,
a blood-red
Hua
bead
Yuan
with a
wanted to
faint
fly
smell of
into
blood
a rage.
appeared in his empty hand.
But when she thought of that
The baleful
terrifying
blood
pressure,
energy on it
she immediately
fluctuated.
calmed down. The moment the pearl
In the
appeared,
end,
she
a
could only
terrifying
helplessly
baleful
retract
blood
her
energy
foot.
soared into the sky.
After
Shaking
that,
the 9
she
heavens
stood at
and
the
giving
door
people a
unwillingly.
soul-stirring feeling.
At
Even
least you are
Xia
sensible.
Feng
and the jade-faced Rakshasa
seeing
couldn't
that
help but
Hua
be
Yun was
shocked when they
sensible.
felt the sudden
Xia
appearance
Feng
of the
snorted
baleful
and closed
blood
the
energy.
door with a peng sound.
The blood-fiend pearl was
At this
formed by the
moment,
condensation
Lin Rei
of pure
and Xia
baleful
Feng
blood
were
energy.
the only ones in the room.
Moreover, it
But
was
the
a
two of them
top-grade
did not
tool for
speak.
refining top-grade divine
The atmosphere
artifacts,
became
so its
stiff.
power could be imagined.
Air.
Under the awkward
At this
atmosphere,
moment,
Lin
Xia
Rei
Feng's
finally
shocked
showed his
gaze fell on
gentlemanly
the pearl
side
and
and
took
took
the
the
initiative
initiative
to speak.
and her face
This
turned
time,
ugly. I have broken through to the
Boy,
late-stage
how did you
god
get
emperor
such an
realm
evil
after
thing?
coming out of seclusion.
Yeah.
Furthermore,
This thing
I
is
have
formed
recovered
by
the
my
condensation of pure baleful blood
Therefore,
energy. I wish to set off for
it
the
can only
ancient
be
corpse
formed by
depository
killing a lot of
tomorrow.
people. Saying
Don't
that,
tell me you. Lin Rei could not help but look at Xia Feng. He wanted her to agree.
What are you thinking
Do you
about?
agree? Looking
I
at their
agree.
strange gazes,
Clean
Lin
and
Rei
crisp.
hurriedly interrupted them and explained. After hearing Lin Rei's words,
After all,
Xia
no
Feng
one
did
wanted
not
to be
hesitate
labeled as a
and
demon
directly
who
agreed. Killed
bleed.
people like scything flax.
Didn't I say before?
It's like this.
Even
Even if you don't allow me to go
I
to
got
the
this
ancient corpse
blood-fiend
depository
pearl from a pool.
I will still return.
You don't say.
The
After
bottom
all,
of the pool
I am
was
still
filled
waiting
with
for
white
you to
bones,
follow me to the
and the
sacred
number
world
was
to take
shocking.
revenge on Hao Tian.
Even I couldn't help but feel
Hearing
numb when I
this,
saw it.
Lin
Rei shrugged helplessly.
Let me tell you,
all right,
those two
since
at
you
that
agree,
time were simply
then it's
frightening.
decided. On this
Tomorrow,
point,
we will
Linley
set
wasn't
off for
trying
the
to scare
ancient
corpse
people at all.
depository. When he had first
N.
seen the white bones at the
Xia
bottom of the
Feng
lake,
nodded in
his
agreement.
entire body had been frozen
However,
in place.
thinking of that
and he had
woman,
been extremely
Xia
shocked.
Feng
Could not help but ask.
After hearing
I am
Lin
very
Rei's
curious.
explanation,
The two women's
why are there
expressions
so many
became
women
much
around you?
better. With their
Furthermore,
powerful
that woman
cultivation,
outside
they
is
could
not
already
simple.
see the clues of the pearl,
Oh,
which was why the incident
not
just
simple.
now happened. Why is it not simple?
Looking at their relaxed expressions,
Hearing her words, Lin Rei
smiled
could
in
not
his
help
heart.
but be shocked. Then, he said to Xia Feng, "Tell me,
TSK,
I can
is
feel
this
the
thing
aura
of mine
the
okay?
sacred world from her body.
This thing?
It's like
Xia
this
Feng
person
pointed
has
at the
been living in the
blood-fiend
sacred
pearl
world
and asked
since she was
hesitantly.
young."
Yes,
that's it. Hearing this,
Nothing
Lin Rei
else.
laughed. Your guess is
I'm
quite
very
accurate.
poor.
It's
She
not like you
is
don't
really
know.
from the sacred world.
With that, Lin Rei
Previously,
grabbed his
it
sleeve
was
and
Lin Rei
pretended
who
to
was
wipe his
surprised,
tears, but
looking
now it
very
was Xia
pitiful.
Feng who was surprised.
The current
Although
Lin
she
Rei
could
was
feel the
completely
aura of the
different from
sacred
before.
world from the girl's body.
However,
she could only
she
feel
liked
a
the
trace
current
of it.
Lin Rei very much.
But now, her identity
Enough.
as a person from the sacred
With that,
world had been
Xia
confirmed.
Feng
Took the blood-fiend
That's
pearl
right.
from Lin Rei's hand and
She is
placed
from
it
the
in front
sacred
of her
world.
eyes. The Baron states Miss
Although
Hua.
this thing is evil,
I have to
Xia Feng
say
did
that
not
it is
hide
indeed
anything
treasure.
from
Hua Yuan and directly
Nonsense.
revealed Hua Yuan's identity. Lin Rei rolled his
N.
eyes at her. At this moment, Lin Rei nodded and immediately told her how he met Hua
This
Yuan
thing is
and
good
what
stuff.
happened after that without missing a
I
single
originally
word. Planned to refine a supreme
After a
grade
few
divine
minutes,
artifact.
Lin
Lin
Rei
Rei
finally
opened his eyes and
Unfortunately,
for the 8
he said
treasures
with a helpless
exquisite
pig,
expression, I can
"Tell
only
me,
reluctantly
is there
give it
such
up."
a person?
With that,
She insisted
Lin Rei
on
clutched
asking
his
me for
chest and
pills.
looked as if his heart was being
If I
torn
didn't
apart.
give them,
she would stick
it
to
looked
me.
very funny.
But later, I thought it
TSK.
through. Who would believe
Since she
that?
is willing to follow me,
Lin
then let her
Rei's
follow
words
me.
could only fool a 3-year-old
After all,
child. We have to enter the
after
ancient
working
corpse
with him
trove
for
later.
so long,
Make sure that her
very well
cultivation
what he
is
had.
at the great perfection late
Just
stage
now,
god
any
emperor
item
realm.
he
took out was enough to make
Although
the 7
Lin Rei
sects
was
fight
talking,
endlessly for
Xia
it.
Feng did not have the mood
They could
to
even
listen
go
to
to
Lin
war
Rei
and
at this
fight to
moment.
the death. At this
Therefore,
moment,
Xia
when Lin
Feng's
Rei
eyes
said
were
that he was
shining.
very poor, Xia
She
Feng
stretched
only
out her
had
hand
2
in front
words
of
in
Lin
her heart
Rei
to
and
express
said,
it. Come, 9
Haha.
revolution mixed energy
Believe it or
pills.
not,
It's up to you.
such a good thing.
After being
Why
seen
didn't
through
you
by
give me some
Xia
in the
Feng,
past?
Lin Rei quickly turned his
Really,
face
you are
away
not a
and
good
stopped
friend.
talking. Seeing
Bang,
Xia Feng's
oh,
excitement,
just as the
Lin
two of
Rei
them were
suddenly
silent,
had the urge
on the
to
other
continue
side,
talking.
the
test between Chu
Damn,
Xi and
you
Yin
can't
Kai
be.
came to an end.
You are so
The
stingy.
miserable roar attracted the attention of Lin Rei, Xia Feng, and jade-faced Rakshasa. Chapter
this moment,
748. The 3 of them
At this
turned
moment,
around and looked
Lin
at the
Rei
battle
didn't know
between
what to
Chu
say.
Xi and Yin Kai.
He
in the
didn't seem to
distance.
have said anything just now,
At Chu
but
Xi's
now
side,
he was
being blamed. At this moment,
Lin
Chu
Rei,
Xi
you,
was resolute.
here.
10-9
She used
revolutions
her water
mixed yuan
cloud
sword
pills.
technique to the extreme. Without waiting for Xia Feng
sword
to
aura
speak
that
again,
filled the sky
Lin
were
Rei
like
took out
thousands of
10-9
swimming
dragons
dragons
as they
mixed
swam
yuan
around the
pills from the
huge system
bodies
and
of the
handed them
monstrous
to her.
beasts.
Although
Wherever
Lin
the
Rei's
sword
face
aura
was calm
passed,
and no
the
expression
monstrous
could be
beasts
seen,
would suffer
his
the
heart began to
consequences
bleed
of being
cut
cut
open. After
Fresh
all,
blood flowed
refining
out
the
from the
9
wounds like a
revolutions
small
mixed
stream.
yuan pills was one in
The
a million.
scene was very bloody.
It was
was the best and
However,
could be casually
the blood
taken
of a
out.
grand perfection god
It was
emperor
enough to
monster
make the
was a
Sect's
great
fight to the
nourishment.
death. Even the
He had
trees were
forgotten
an
before that
exception.
Xiafeng was in the
The
sage
blood
realm,
of the monster
so it was
splattered on
suitable
the
for her to
trees.
take the 9 revolutions
It could
mixed
be
yuan
seen that the
pills.
trees were rapidly absorbing
If he
the
could
blood.
remember this before,
Regarding
he was afraid
this,
that he would have
Linley was
mentioned the
certain that
9
before
revolutions
long,
mixed yuan
they would all
pills.
develop intelligence and become demonic beasts.
Only 10.
Seeing this scene,
At this moment,
Lin Rei
looking at
revealed
the
a pills in
smile.
front of her.
His
Feng's
eyes
interest
was filled with
instantly
joy
wiped
and
out.
admiration.
She thought that
He
there would
wasn't
be a
the
lot
only
more.
one. Even the evil phoenix and the
Only
jade-faced Rakshasa felt the same.
Originally, he was reluctant
One had
to
know
part with
that
the
cultivators
pills because
who
of
could
the
challenge
challenge
cultivators above their level
Now,
were the elites
because
of
of
their
the small
sections.
number,
He was despised.
Moreover,
the two of them were
for a
fighting
moment,
against
Lin
demonic
Ray
beasts.
was even more speechless.
This made them even more
Yes,
powerful.
just 10.
Ordinary
Take it
grand
or leave
perfection
it.
God Emperor monster
It's
monsters.
good that you don't.
Even grand perfection
When I
God
reach
Emperor
the holy
cultivators
world, I'll
would
lead
not
it
dare to
myself.
provoke such a powerful monster.
With that,
Lin Ray was
of
about to
course,
withdraw his
it would be
hand.
easier
if there were two
but
or
at
three
this
of
moment,
them. Xia Feng
looking at
immediately
the other
said,
side,
"Don't."
I
Yun Kai's
want
results
it.
were even more outstanding.
I want it,
okay? After all,
With
during
that,
this period of
Xia
time,
Feng
Lin
directly
Li had been
snatched
paying
the
close
9
attention to
revolutions
her
mixed
cultivation
yuan
pills
battle
from Lin
prowess.
Ray's hand. As for
It's a
Chu
waste if
Xi,
you don't
Lin
want
Li
it.
had asked him to concoct
Anyway,
pills. There's only so much
Thus,
now. Prior to this,
every
he
little
had
bit of
already
improvement
considered
is a
who would
little bit.
emerge victorious.
You.
What do you
like
want
me
there's
to
no
say to you?
suspense on Yun Kai's side.
Looking at Xia Feng's resigned
the outcome
look,
will be
Lin
revealed
Ray
soon.
suddenly
became angry. Well, now that the pills have been given to you, we'll prepare to leave tomorrow and go to the ancient corpse
That's right.
trove. The one
right,
called Yun
got
Kai
it.
has a strong cultivation
Xia Feng
base
could
and
no longer
exquisite
listen
battle
to
Lin
techniques.
Ray's words. Moreover,
Now that she
has
has
a lot of
attained the
battle
9
revolution
experience,
mixed yuan elixir.
what's
The
even
only
more
thing she wanted
commendable
to
is
do
her
was
pure
quickly increase
cultivation
her
base.
cultivation. Her spiritual
all,
energy
he
is
hadn't
very
improved
pure. His cultivation base
If it
for
wasn't
tens
for
of
that,
billions of
I'm
years.
afraid,
Listening to their
he
analysis,
had to make up for the
Lin
lost
Ray
time
as
chuckled.
soon as possible. His face revealed
Otherwise,
a proud expression.
after entering the holy world,
Nonsense. If she was not strong enough,
don't you know
it would
who
be
taught her?
useless. If
Even
she was
if she
still
faced
weak,
Hao
I would have
Tian,
jumped into
she
the
would
river
only
to
be at
commit
his mercy.
suicide.
Of course,
Lin Ray
if
curled
time
his
could go
lips.
back,
When she was still
he
the
could not
Phoenix
help but
ancestor,
underestimate her.
she should have rushed to Hung Jun
Pang,
and killed
suddenly,
Hao. A loud sound
Then,
rang out. There would be no such thing. Just as everyone had expected,
Perhaps she was
there was
still in the
movement
Saints'
on Yun
world,
Kai's
living
side.
a
life of luxury.
She was
ruling
currently
over the
standing
entire
in the
Phoenix
air,
clan,
completely
and throwing her weight
unscathed.
around in the gods' world. Although her face was
Of
pale
course,
and her
this
clothes
was
were
just
a
a
bit
thought.
tattered, they were only minor
How could there be a
injuries.
cycle in the world?
She had overexerted
Even if
herself,
there was,
as
it
well
would
as
only
the
happen in a
consequences
short
of extreme
period of
stress.
time.
It had
At this
been hundreds of
moment,
millions
in front
of
of Yun
years
Kai,
since the
dust was
untainted
flying
age.
everywhere.
Countless trees had been crushed
Even if
by
there
the
was a
monster's
cycle of
enormous
reincarnation,
body. It would be impossible
dust
to return
settled,
to that
a
time.
huge
demonic beast could
All
be
right,
seen lying
since
on
it's
the
settled,
ground. I'll go back first. Its entire body was
With
riddled
that,
with holes.
Lin Ray walked
dripping
out
with
of the
blood,
room and headed
even
back
its
to his
bones
room.
were exposed. At this moment,
It was a horrible
Hua Yuan
sight
was
to
following
behold.
behind him. Its entire
this
body
moment,
was covered
she
with
was like a
sword
security
marks,
guard.
fist marks, palm
It was
marks,
as if she was
and
ensuring
ensuring
his
his safety at all times.
Seeing this scene,
Lin Ray was stunned and
just
his hair
smiled
stood
at
on
Hua
end.
Yuan.
Then he sent a
He
voice
was very
transmission
glad
to
that his
Chu
wife was
Xi
not
and
such
Yun
a
Kai's
violent
room.
person.
I've come out of seclusion.
Otherwise,
He would
come
have
and
been
see me
miserable.
quickly.
Huh? Now that
Where's
the
the
result
money?
is out, there's no
He's
need
out?
to keep this one alive. Young master is out. With a smile, Lin
At
Ray
this
looked
moment,
at Chu
the
Xi,
two people in the
who was
room
still
woke up
bitterly
when they heard
fighting.
Lin
Ray's voice transmission.
His figure
instantly disappeared.
Their
hearts were filled with excitement
When he
at the first
reappeared,
moment. He was already beside Chu
Swoosh.
Xi,
Immediately,
who had been thrown
the
into
two
the
of them
battle. Activated their cultivation
His aura
base
was
and
weak,
rushed out
and
of
his
the room,
fighting spirit
rushing
was
toward
soaring
Lin
to the
Ray's
heavens.
room.
His
It didn't
body
take
was
long
covered
for
in
the two of
wounds,
them to
and
reach
his clothes
Lin
were
Ray's
torn
room
and
and
tattered
tattered
by
by
the
the demonic
time.
beasts. When the two of them
Looking
met,
at him
their
now,
eyes were
Lin Li
filled
felt
with
the same
excitement
way.
and adoration. After all,
he
was just an
the two of
alchemist,
them were
and he
engaged.
hadn't done anything else during
Now
this
that they
period
had
of
been
time.
separated
for more than 20
Looking
years.
at him,
how
Lin
could they
Ray
not be
said,
excited? All right, you can go
However,
down first.
before
their excitement, when you
Lin
cultivate
Ray's
your
matter
dance
was the most
to the upper
important.
class of the Danzong
At the
sect.
same time,
I will teach you an
this was what the
extremely
two of them
powerful
thought.
battle technique, martial gods test.
Knock.
At this
that,
moment,
Lin
Chu
Ray
Xi
used his
took the lead.
cultivation.
She knocked on the
Spiritual
door
energy
and broke
broke
out
it.
of his body and turned
Her
into a
movements were
giant
light,
hand, but the sound was loud.
It gently grabbed
Chu Xi.
After that,
refined
the room
him
was
and put him
completely
aside.
silent.
Staring
There was
at
no
the monster
movement at all.
he murmured, "Watch
The
carefully."
two
of them were stunned. This is the battle
In
technique
fact,
I will teach
what they
you in
didn't
the
know
future.
was that Lin
Martial
Ray
hadn't
God's
returned
test.
to his room.
With that,
and there was
a
no
long
sign of
spear
Lin
with a
Ray
heaven-piercing
in the room.
pressure appeared.
At this moment,
The
Lin
spear
Ray was still
completely
on his
black.
way back. On the shaft,
He didn't expect
9
that his
dragons
words
would
were
make the
engraved.
two of them so excited.
It looked very cool.
They didn't even need to walk.
At this moment,
and directly
Lin Ray
teleported
gave
over.
off
the feeling of a war god
Knock,
descending.
knock.
It was
There
was
feeling
another
of a
series of
sovereign
knocks
descending
on
upon
the
the
world. However,
This
the
caused
result
Chu
was
Xi
the
to
same
be
as before.
stunned. There was still no sound.
I haven't
from the
seen
room.
you in a long time.
Immediately,
Today,
the two of them
I will
stood
let
on
you
both
see some
sides of the
blood.
door in confusion and respectfully, waiting for Lin Ray to open the door. They didn't understand. Caressing
In
the
less than
primal
a minute,
chaos
just
dragon
as the
spear,
two of them were
Lin Ray
smiling
said
and
gently.
chatting.
Lin Ray walked
In the
over
next
from
second,
afar. The originally gentle
behind
face
him
of
was
Lin
Hua
Ray
Yun.
immediately turned as cold
At
as
this moment,
frost. Chu Ci sensed
he
the
gave off
figure
a
and the feeling that
distance.
anyone who dared to approach
Instantly,
within a radius
she
of
became
300
excited.
meters would die. However, when
Looking
she
at the
saw Hua
monster,
Yun
Lin
behind
Ray
Lin
shouted
Ray,
to Chu
she was
Ci
shocked.
behind him,
Watch carefully.
Hua.
This is the martial god's test. Why is she here? With that, Lin Rei's spear was placed in front of his chest. Her name is Hua His late-stage god emperor
At
cultivation
this moment,
was pushed
after
to hearing
the
her
limit.
fiancé's words.
Terrifying
Yunkai
ripples
locked
of
her gaze on
spiritual
the
energy
beautiful
rushed
woman
out
behind
from his
Lin
body.
Rei. Martial
Instantly,
god's test.
her jealousy
First
increased.
style absolute kill.
Is she
The spear
beautiful
was
in his
thrown
imagination?
Like a
Huh,
long dragon,
beautiful.
it rushed in front of the
At this
monster in
moment,
an instant.
Chu
Xiai didn't seem to
The
think
momentum
before
of the
speaking.
spear
was enough to cause people
Even
to
she
be
didn't
stunned.
know
why she would say such
However,
a thing and
an
answer
even
such
more
a terrifying event occurred. However, the
The
moment she
space
finished
around the
speaking,
demon beast
the
started to
smile on
warp
Chu
when he
Xi's
utilized
face
the
turned
first
bitter.
martial
god test. Sigh. In the end, due to the warping of space, the demon beast's body started to be torn apart bit by bit. The profundity of the martial god's test lay in the word space. Rather than saying that it was a battle technique, it would be better to say that it was a disguised form of space magic. It was just that it was revealed through spear techniques. The space became more and more distorted. After the monster's body was torn apart by the distortion of space, Lin Rei withdrew his cultivation and placed the spear on his back. Dong. With a loud sound, the martial god's test disappeared. The monster that was torn apart fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. Letting out a long sigh, he turned around and looked at Chu Xiai, who was staring at him with wide eyes. A hint of a smile appeared on Linley's face, and he said, "What do you think? How was my tactic?" That was simply too cool, too awesome, too cool." Hearing Linley's question, Chu Xiai hurriedly came back to her senses, and her face was full of excitement as she spoke. At this moment, he wished he could become a high-grade Grandmaster Alchemist. That way, he would be able to directly practice such a powerful combat technique. If that's the case, then cultivate well in the future. Redouble your efforts in cultivating. As long as you become a high-level Grandmaster Alchemist, I will impart the martial god test to you and refine an acquired supreme treasure for you. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.